but as they keep building out all their sites out there, it just gets more and more and more, and, you know, it gets to a point where that's a lot, which is good, you know, because their total build out is about 335 or something like that.
Something like that, over 300.
And they're, you know, the upper two, you know, 250, 260, or whatever they're right now.
Hey Rob, how are you?
Good. How are you?
What was I gonna ask you about? Let's put it on the agenda. 80% PESH.
What's that?
The 80% PESH. Well, I got it on the agenda, we'll talk about it then.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
6 o'clock, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Town of Alexandria Board meeting on April 20th. Could everybody please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the town board meeting to order. Motion to pay the bills.
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Sean's making a motion. I'd like to insert one thing. There's a Garlock bill in here for $3.50 that we can't recognize the signature or recognize anything about it. They talked to the clerk at Garlock's, and she says she knows it was the town of Alexandria, but she doesn't know who. Nicole has been talking to them at Garlock's. We've had a lot of people look at the signature, nobody recognizes it, okay? What I suggested today is I'll go to Garlock's, and I believe they've got cameras on every register. And the invoice has the date and the time. So we'll ask them to pull it up on the cameras if they would. So as far as a motion to pay these bills, I think the motion should have everything that everybody agrees on, except for that invoice from Garlock. Okay?
Yep.
So that's the motion from Sean, and with my amendment to it. I need a second.
I'll second.
Second by Gene. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None. Motion to approve the town board meeting minutes.
I've gone through them, and I have a few minor changes that I'm not going to give to you, because the last time I gave them to you, you lost them.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give them to
Give them
Jesse. They're just little.
Yep, that's fine, no worries. You got it, thank you.
So you're making a motion with your changes, is that right?
Can you read what the changes are?
I'll make that motion.
I think we need to hear what the changes are. If we're gonna approve the changes, we ought to hear the changes.
Yeah. Can you tell us what the changes are, Jesse?
Okay, let's see, on February 16th, for the board meeting, instead of, just wants to add where it says Randy Truesdale asked about the board if the town owns and he wanted to put in Old Bonnie Castle Stables for that insertion there.
They're just
I'm
very,
sorry.
very minor.
Yep, that's fine. And then also on February 16th, he did add, during the motion for the Butterfield Lake and Dock request, adding under motion made by Gene Crean, adding the town will now sell the property, adding the town. Okay. And then, let's see, on February 16th as well, under consultant agreement, just adding Dale Ramo's name to it as well. And then, let's see, March 16th, under where Tom Petrie had talked about when he was addressing the floor, stated that he worked for the rink for 50 years, for the rink for 50 years. Oh, yes, under, on, March 21st, I did realize this after it said blur, under, sell surplus, instead of putting old blue rink, I put blur, B-L-U-R, so he corrected me on that, so, and under blue. And, instead of a Durrell excavator.
It's a Daewoo.
Daewoo, okay, I didn't get that as well, and that is it. That's all I see.
Okay, so I've got a motion to approve them with those changes, and need a second?
Oh, did I make the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
I was assuming you did.
okay.
I need a second?
Sure. I'll second it.
Second. Second by Sean, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None. Okay, I'm gonna skip the privilege of the floor until later, and we're gonna go start down through our list here. And the first thing is a bid opening for the excavator. And we have 3 bids that, Jesse, were all submitted by 4 o'clock today, is that right?
Yes.
First bid is for a Kubota. And this is by Luke Hall from Empire Tractor Incorporated from Watertown, New York. And this is for a KX0804 STR3 with a base price of $117,418 with our attachments and everything that were in our bid specs. The total unit price is $115,151.21. KX080-4S. Is Luke here? No. Like I said, it's got the attachments, the cutting edge, grading bucket, additional weight kit, coupler, hydraulic thumb, mechanical trenching bucket, travel arm kit, telematics modem, telematics harness. Total price is $135,071. Source well discount of $32,417.04. Comes up to a subtotal of $102,653.96. 2-year extended warranty of $6,800. Dealer assembly of $1,105. Freight cost of $2,156.25. PDI of $250. Wireless camera system $1,500. Bluetooth radio $300. Part books and delivery $386. As I said, the total unit price on the bid is $115,151.21. Next one is a Bobcat. DX85R-3-US 10. Dish cleaning bucket, duty bucket. This has got the, we're gonna have to go through and check these. We're not gonna make any decision tonight because we got a lot of options to go through here, and we have a bunch of things to look at to make sure that everything is according to our bid specs. They have the pricing with leases, is what, they've got 1 3-year lease, 4-year lease, 5-year lease.
We're gonna have to compare that.
Yeah. I'm looking for a total price. You could probably just take the, I don't know, on a lot of these, the yearly lease price is not the same, the last year is a different number. And some of the ones that I'm familiar with.
Right here.
Total bid price, $98,042.98. Again, there's a lot of attachments and a lot of things that were in our bid specs, so I think we have to go through these.
Yeah, there's quite a difference between those two numbers.
Also, what's
We have to
delivery
go through
time?
these and make sure they're apples to apples.
And
Vic, what's the delivery time?
It's on the ground.
I'm sorry?
It's on the ground, we can deliver it immediately.
Non-collision agreement. Okay. Keep these things separate. Tracy Road Equipment. This is a Gabelco model SK75SR-7 with all the requested items as per the bid specs. As I said, there's a list here of about 15 items: operating weight, horsepower, rubber tracks, fixed boom, counterweights, hydraulic thumb, quick coupler, side cutter and pins, bowl and pins, standard items. Sell price is $118,210. 5-year lease agreement is enclosed. Anything else that I'm missing here, Sean, that we need to sign, did you see?
Joe, right?
So, yep.
Yep.
You have a lease option on this, and then there's a finance option, right? There's 2 different options. Am I reading that correctly? Or is one, or are they both lease programs?
It's a 5-year lease.
It's 5-year lease, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So as I said, we're not gonna make any decisions tonight. There's a lot of information here that we have to go through. We're gonna obviously look at the initial price, and then we're gonna look at the leasing, and I think everybody's got an interest rate tied into the leasing, is that right?
Yeah.
What is your interest rate, do you know?
The interest rate,
Yeah,
4.5.
and yours?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Market
Cause
rates.
I've looked at a lot of these, and they've run between 3.5 and 4.5 and 5, from what I see. So I think we gotta look at all that. Does everybody agree that we gotta analyze these things pretty thoroughly?
That would be
I mean,
smart.
I sure don't wanna make a decision on this without being able to read all this.
I agree, I'm sure these guys would like to know tonight, but that'd be smart.
I mean, I can ask the board members to come in tomorrow and go through this, and we probably will actually maybe put a Excel sheet together so we can compare them all. Okay? Okay. Let's see, I'm gonna give these to you so they don't get lost in our table up there with. Okay, town engineer report, Rob.
I gave
Thanks,
Jesse.
Joe.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I gave Jesse the, bid advertisement for the boat ramp for May
I
17th.
just saw that today.
Yeah, that will go in the newspaper, as soon as we can get it published, so that's just before your next board meeting, so we'll have the bid results for that. So that's for the boat launch. as we talked earlier, we got the plans for the car wash. We just got those yesterday. We'll be reviewing that. Mike, I had a question. I'm not sure if your get-together group on sewer and water, are they good with the district boundaries yet for the Route 12 sewer? Route 12 sewer district boundaries. I haven't spoken to Dale in a while.
Yep.
About those boundaries, cause I know some
They
properties.
didn't get back to you?
No. So if you could check on that.
Okay, cause I'm sure we got it done.
Okay. I can call Dale tomorrow.
Yeah, well, he's in Myrtle Beach right now, but,
Okay.
but I'm sure he'll take your call.
I was gonna say, I talked to him a couple times today.
Yeah, so I'd like to wrap that up. And next, we'll advertise for the sewer project. I think we're ready to get that on the street.
Yep.
You know, in May, probably bid it early June.
Yep.
That's up to them. That's really all I have, unless anybody's got questions.
Is that everything? I had a question, that was actually is number 3, where do we stand on the 80% reimbursement for the PESH corrections at the highway barn?
I got a response back. I emailed Pesh, I think you saw that, and asked them how we did it, and they said, well, we don't get involved with those applications. You have to go to another department. And so I have to contact them and submit that. You had like $6,000, I think, in cost that you wanted to try to do reimbursement.
So I was at the government conference yesterday, and in one of the classrooms came up about the PESH, and I brought up the question about the reimbursement deal.
Right.
And there was a gentleman there from West Carthage that was the highway superintendent, and he had just gone through that process.
Okay.
They had $42,000 worth of repairs that they had to do to meet the PESH requirements. They had just gone through the process, and they had just been allocated or given the approval for the 80% reimbursement. And his only comment to me was that it's a lot of paperwork. So, and you and I already spoke about that, you saw the paperwork.
Yeah.
So, but it's,
Well, they wanted engineered plans for the work that was done. And the work is done already, and it was kind of silly to me to like draw the details on the railing, for example. You don't really need to pay me to draw, I mean, Mike took care of that, he had the railing made and installed. So, I wanted to just submit the invoices, that you had provided to me.
Yeah.
When I sent them to PESH, then they kicked those back and they said, no, you have to go through a different office.
yeah,
So I haven't done that yet. I'll put it on my list to follow up on.
okay. Anything else? In the highway report, I did reach out to the highway superintendent, and he's gonna wait to do the Mud Lake shoreline project until the water level recedes, which
Okay.
I think is what we talked about at the meeting. I think it's probably gonna be midsummer.
And we did get the permit for the other, waterfront project too, on Butterfield. We wanted to make that right next to the
Okay. By the
road.
way, yep,
That permit has come through too, so both of those you can do.
okay. It doesn't have a time deal on it?
I think the permit's good for 2 years.
Yeah.
I think that one Mike wanted to do more prior to ice fishing season in the fall, because that was better access for the snowmobiles,
Yep,
as opposed to the boat ramp, so.
yep. Okay.
But I think we're set, I think we're done with both of those as far as our involvement.
Right. I'm gonna skip down the agenda because we have some people here that wanna talk to us about the water bills that have gone out. And so everybody doesn't have to stay here all night. So I'm gonna ask for the report from the Water and Sewer Committee, and that was the one, I believe, that we're gonna address the water bills.
Okay, I mean, I could just start with maybe faster to answer some questions, and then I can go on from there. If anybody has a specific question.
Yeah, I do. So, anyways, I'm Dan Peterson, for those who don't know me.
Nice to meet you, Sean. I don't think we've met before.
No.
Congratulations on your election.
Thank you.
So I have, sent a letter, I guess best described as what my grievances are to the board. I'm not gonna read it because you guys have it. I'm gonna ask that that letter be submitted into the official record. I gave Jesse a copy of the letter already. I assume I'm allowed to do that.
But I'm asking, I thought we were talking about specific questions about the water bill.
I am,
Okay.
so,
We talked to both of our town attorneys about the letter, and they've told us that we are required to say no comment because we're in litigation.
so, okay,
So
yeah,
that's-
that's fine. So, you know, along with that, I'm just gonna
Just taking the
briefly, I'm
advice
just
of
gonna
our
briefly.
attorney.
Yeah, I
Go
understand.
go ahead.
I noticed that oftentimes the board likes to talk about this issue wide open when I'm not here, but whenever I am here, we're always claiming attorney privilege and we can't comment, but that's fine, all right, that's fine. But there seems to be a double standard here, where we talk openly about whatever we wanna say, and then when I show up, well, we can't talk about it. But that's fine.
That's your opinion, that's not true, but that's your.
Exactly.
Well, that is definitely my
That's your
opinion.
opinion, that's all.
Okay, let's move on to the question about the water bill.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just talk about a few key points, that I think are definitely related to this water bill.
Okay.
And why I think it's related to the water bill, all right? Like I said, I'm not gonna read the letter. Do you guys have an objection submitting it to the record?
As far as I'm concerned, I think that's up to what our attorney says.
I think I legally have a right to submit something to the record and have it,
We'll ask him, and if he says that, then
right?
you're right.
So,
If he says no, then you're wrong.
well, if that changes, then let me know.
Okay.
If there's some reason you can't. All right, so, the town has again raised its rates, and this will be less than 3 minutes, and then you guys can comment or not comment. The town has once again raised its rates on what I believe are false premises, when they actually owe $500,000 to Redwood citizens.
Okay, that's not what we're talking about here tonight.
A fact the town continues, I'd like to be heard, just a few minutes. A fact that the town continues to deny. The town and its consultant are refuting the actual bank records. Bank records that prove there was no deficit owed to the general fund.
This is all part of your lawsuit.
I'd like to have
It has
2
nothing to
minutes.
do with the setting of
This
the
record
water.
will also
about the
show,
water
I know
rate.
you don't want me to speak publicly, because you don't want it to be heard in public,
No.
but let me have
Part
my
of
2
your
minutes.
lawsuit.
This has been written a million times on
Are we gonna have
paper.
privilege of the
Haven't
floor
you written
tonight?
it on paper?
Are we gonna have privilege of the floor tonight? Is a citizen allowed to show up and speak for 2 minutes?
The problem is the lawsuit.
No, the problem is you can say whatever you want, right? The lawsuit does not prevent me from having privilege of the floor, sir.
Well, our attorney's not here to advise us on that.
I've been here many times, and he's always said, you could let him speak, and you can answer or not answer. Let's not fence here. Can I please have my 2 minutes?
It'll be quicker than what we're doing right now.
Well, if you keep interrupting, it'll take longer. I'll get through it quickly. All right? All right? I want you to understand, the bank records prove there was no deficit owed to the general fund. Those records also show $203,000 was collected and never posted or deposited into Redwood accounts. 2 experts detail these facts in written reports. That will be Crawley Halloran and Danville McKee.
Can I ask
It's
a
important
question?
to,
I'd like
let
to
me,
ask
so
a
you can say
question.
whatever you want at the end, just let me say what I'm saying. It's important to understand Mike Lasson's peers do not agree with him or the town's claims. Pam Halloran and Chris Didio, and now apparently Keely Hines from Bonadeo, who is the town's current auditor, has not certified the financial records that were presented to them over a year ago. The town claims their consultant, Mike Lasson, has explained everything over 9 months ago. Well, so far, no CPA has officially agreed with his opinions. Supervisor Sweet, you have previously stated that 3 CPAs have certified the town's records. That statement is misleading, and your attempt to suggest that multiple CPAs have reviewed the expert's report and reviewed Redwood records. The only CPAs that have been tasked to look specifically at Redwood accounts are Crowley and Halloran and Danable McKee. And no independent CPA has been willing to dispute what Crowley Halloran and Danable McKee reported. Both investigations reported major problems and serious financial mismanagement. Mike Lasan, who claims to disagree with those two independent investigations, was purposely hired to defend the town in a legal matter and not as an independent auditor. The problem with Mike Lasan's claims is the expert reviewed his report and clearly and emphatically stated Mike Lasan is wrong. The judge is not a CPA. And it's important to say again, the reports from expert CPAs who actually investigated do not agree with your consultant, Mike Lasan. And that fact is something that will be made clear in future court proceedings. Those facts should be concerning to any objective party. Why did two veteran CPAs clearly state the Redwood financials are false? I guess those experts are just idiots. That is a shocking story some board members are stating. Why would we believe Mike Lasan instead of the other experts? Is it because he's willing to say what certain members of this board want us all to believe? Believing only those who tell you what you want to hear is a recipe for disaster. The previous board has ignored anyone that tells them what they don't want to hear, including Crowley Halloran, an expert they hired. You guys hired him. I would ask the new members of this board to make their own conclusions after reading the reports from two investigations. If you're willing to review them, you will find the truth. Mike Lasan was not able to convince his peers who reviewed his report. That should be profound and compelling. The expert provided an update that explains in great deal why Mike Lasan's opinions are inaccurate and unsubstantiated. The legal battle is not won, and again I remind you, no expert has officially agreed with the town or their consultant, Mike Lasan. Any CPA making any such claims after the date Crowley and Halloran and Danable McKee concluded their investigations. Nobody has come forward since that time and said, oh yeah, we agree that these guys are wrong. Nobody's substantiating what you're saying. Not an expert. Mike Lasan was hired with tax dollars to tell a story. That decision was directly made because the town refused to accept the results of experts. No taxpayer or judge should believe what a paid partisan has to say compared to an independent expert.
Can we move on?
And you have said, I made it all up, and it's all wrong. Gentlemen, your bank records show that you owe us $500,000.
It's 3 minutes.
Dan, do you have any questions about the water bill?
There's no reason to raise the rate when you owe us money.
You don't have to
You need
raise
to
your
pay us
voice
back the money. You need to get your finances in order. Your finances are not in order.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have a specific
Well,
question.
no, I was very quiet, didn't say anything, I didn't interrupt you one single, and I have to ask again.
Okay.
I only
Do you
have
have
one.
any questions about the water? That's what I asked about to start this. Do you have any questions about apparently there's some people here that have some questions about the water bill. All you talked about was the sewer litigation.
Okay,
Do you have any question about the water?
Sure.
Yes,
So
I'm asking.
I'll explain to you why I'm saying this, all right?
No, do you have any? No,
No, I'm gonna say directly about the water. You're asking about the water, right?
Yes.
So did you add a fee about, building a capital reserve for water?
Okay, thank you, yes.
Did you add a fee for that?
No, we did not add any, we added one fee that involves creating of a reserve fund.
So we're gonna create a reserve fund for the water, right? Because we need one, right?
Yes, we need one.
We need one, right?
We need one, yes.
Absolutely, right? So I would agree that you have to
Yeah.
have a reserve fund, right?
Okay.
This is what I'm trying to say. But nobody wants to hear.
No. So
let me explain it to you.
What's your question about the water bill?
I'm gonna explain it to you, but are you
No,
gonna
but it's not
listen?
gonna involve litigation, I'm talking about the water bill.
I'm not even talking to you, you're not listening. You gotta listen,
Okay,
all right? When the auditors audited the Redwood bank accounts, that is a water and sewer bank account, a
no,
combined
the
account.
water and sewer are not combined.
The bank account was combined for all those years from 2008 to 2017. It was a combined water and sewer bank account,
I don't know,
sir.
no, that's not true.
It is true.
No, they have what's.
Gene, would you like to tell them that it's a combined bank
checking,
account?
right? I believe it's pool checking. It's all together, but it's not.
We had a combined bank account for Redwood Water and Sewer starting in 2008. When we paid our bills, everything was deposited in that bank account, sir.
Redwood Sewer came in 1992. So how
The
could
water
they be
started in
combined?
'07, and you had a bank account in 2008, that when we pay our water and sewer bill, we write one check for water and sewer, and it's deposited into a combined account, or at least it used to be. It's not now. But up until 2017, it was.
That's not true.
Let's
That's not
just
true.
deal with the water and your question.
That's not true.
It is true.
No, it's not true.
Yes, it is,
You
sir.
can want it-
There's a bank account for water and sewer that you closed out in 2017, that started in 2008, where you deposited all the revenues.
Okay, but
Let's talk about the water, Dan, finish your questions.
Well, what I'm trying to explain to them is that when they audited that account, that combined account, that's water and sewer, right? They discovered that $203,000 was not deposited or posted. Money that your financial statements say was collected. They say, here's what was collected, according to the A1, according to the trial balance reports.
Okay, so now-
They went and they said, listen, we can't see where this money was ever deposited into your accounts, any of them, savings account, operating account, or posted to your account. So if you put it in the general fund, you needed to post it that it belonged to water and sewer. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is that if you were to look at that Appendix F, like I put you emails out, you would understand that the town got reimbursed for all of the expenses through that time frame. And now, what the auditor said was, if there was any money owed by Redwood Sewer, it would have to be owed to the water district. Because the town got reimbursed for every penny of the expenses in that period. The expenses were $2,538,000, the withdrawals were $2,538,000, and you have a copy of every transaction, of every withdrawal that went from a Redwood account to the general fund. The date, the amount of money, and how much it is. So what I'm saying to you, sir,
But you know you're-
is that there's a reserve fund already there that you're not recognizing. And expert CPAs are telling you that it's there and you're not recognizing it, and you're all arguing with me, and we're going to court and arguing about it because nobody will listen.
I haven't yelled at you at all.
I'm sorry if I'm...
We're all listening.
I get a little worked up.
We are all
If I feel like
listening, Dan.
I'm yelling, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Can we go on?
We've had some people, I think we have some people here tonight that have a question about the water bill they received this last billing.
Well, if you have a reserve that you're
question?
not recognizing, don't you think that's a problem, sir?
Do you have a question about the bill you received this last billing period?
I want to know why you're raising a reserve when you already have one. I would like to know why you're doing all these things when we're in the middle of litigation, when in fact I think you should all be waiting until the end, but you continue to charge forward with this narrative that isn't proven, as if this is all over.
Let's pretend.
The lawsuit is not over, gentlemen, and this has not all been settled.
Obviously, it's
my
not
turn.
over, because we can't talk about it, because we said it was in litigation.
My turn.
Did you not listen?
Okay, Dan, my turn.
You talk about it all the time.
Fine, okay, let's pretend, which I don't agree with you, but let's pretend that says $203,000 exists in Redwood Water.
Your bank records show that, sir.
Again, don't do that. I'm trying to talk to you. Let's pretend. Okay. Do you think DANK is a reputable organization? The Development Authority of the North
I'm
Country.
not in a position to make a comment on
Okay.
DANK.
We asked them, I don't know, a few years ago, to do an asset management of all the water and sewer departments, or districts rather, okay? And what that is, they looked at every single pipe, valve, hydrant, you know, the water tower, the meter pits, the meters themselves, and they totaled out all the various different things, the initial value of each one of those things, the estimated service life of each one of those things, and they put them all together, and the Redwood Sewer Water District rather is easily the largest district in the whole town, hands down, easiest, most largest, most expensive, has more expensive stuff and everything. according to them, we should have put away every year, not just 1 year, or not just for every year, $128,000. So let's pretend that $203,000 exists. You're saying that's enough. It's not even close to enough. So let's pretend what you just said. Wait, my turn. So you're saying we don't need to have a reserve, we have enough. No, we don't. Not even close.
No, what I'm saying is.
No, I just told you, the number that you're living on is not even sufficient to do 2 years.
What I'm saying
Two.
What I'm saying is, all right, we're talking about one specific thing, okay? And
Okay, no.
So hang on.
Move on.
The experts that reviewed all this stuff, right, they had dozens of issues that they came up with that needed to be addressed, right? You're talking about one thing.
No, you did.
And you have an expert there, and I find it, really interesting that you like the experts that you like.
No.
And you don't like the experts
This is
that
the
you don't
information
like.
I have to work with. I didn't say I like them.
What makes Dick a better expert than the 2 CPAs that were hired? Why are they more credible than Crawley, Halloran, and Danable?
This has nothing
Talking
to do.
apples and oranges.
Yeah, this has-
Are we really? Are we
They're dealing with
really?
asset management, your CPAs don't deal with asset.
Yeah, well, I don't.
They don't know the useful.
But an expert, so you listen to this expert that you like, but we have other
Nothing to
experts
do
you don't
with an
listen to.
audit or billing.
We need to
or
move
nothing.
on to taxpayers that would like to talk to us about the
Do
water.
you have anything else?
Okay.
Do you have anything else?
So
We
what
need to
I'm
move
saying is
on,
you
okay?
had no interest in finding out about that $203,000.
I got all kinds of interest, but this isn't the place to do it, Dan. Right here tonight now is not the place to do
We've
it.
always been going
It's
through.
never been a place, mister, for 4 years. This is why we're in court. This is why, Brent.
Yeah.
This is why we're wasting all the taxpayers' dollars. Because you have never been willing to be honest
You're
and
the
sit
one-
down
you're the one
and
wasting the
say,
taxpayers'
hey,
dollars.
this is what's going on.
We wanna
This-
move on.
If you could give financial statements that made sense to CPAs, who I hired to look at them, we would never be here.
Mike Lasan is an expert CPA. You call him a consultant.
Yeah,
He is as much an
You didn't
expert.
hire
Hold on,
him
hold on.
as
My
an
turn.
auditor, sir.
My turn.
Yes, we
Okay?
did.
My turn.
We hired him
Mike
as a town
Lasan
accountant.
is as much of an expert CPA as anybody from Didio is, okay?
By
So we
far.
have experts on both sides, presented their case, a Supreme Court judge looked at both sides and decided in favor of the town. You're now appealing that, we'll go through the appeal,
Let's go
and
through the
more
appeal.
judges will decide. We're not gonna litigate it here tonight.
Thank you.
What I'm trying to say to you, Ron,
You don't have.
You've said over and over.
what I said
Let's
to you
not go on. I'd
is
like to
that
call
if you
people up.
refuse to even look at the data, you'd rather spend money on lawyers and then see where it all comes out, just roll the dice, than even have a conversation with me. Not
Refuse to
tonight,
look at the data
not
is
previously,
wrong. No.
not ever. You will never listen to me, and you'll never have a conversation where I can say, hey, here's the bank records,
Not to.
let me explain it to you so you can understand it. Bring your accountant if you want, I'll bring mine. Nobody has ever been willing to do that. Every time I tried to sit down with an accountant, with you guys and me, and try to sort it out, you found a reason not to do it. And then I was forced, and the people in Redwood were forced, to go to court because you wouldn't do an audit, you kept saying you were going to do one, you wouldn't meet with the auditors, you wouldn't do any of the things that we needed to do to prevent this mess.
And the judge said you didn't prove your case, and
No, that's not what he said, sir.
Yeah.
That is your interpretation.
Okay, you're appealing his decision.
Yeah.
That was a long 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, anybody else have, I'll help you the best I can.
Okay. I'm not gonna stand because I have a lot of...
I can't hear you very well, so
All right,
please.
I'm gonna move up, but I'm not gonna stand because I have a lot of paperwork here and there's no place to really spread it out. So, for those that don't know me, I'm Tina Bartlett-Barrow. I'm a resident of town of Theresa, but my husband David and I own property in town of Alexandria. We lived there for many years and we moved out of the Redwood area, and we still maintain 2 properties there that are rental properties. So that's why we are here this evening. Like I said, we lived there for many, many years before. We've always maintained the same properties, 20 plus years, and historically, it seems like the residents keep getting slammed with bills, and that's a huge understatement. I understand a lot of what was just said. I understand expenses, revenues. I build the college budget. I'm on a school board. We have a $90 million budget. I understand revenues, I understand expenditures, I understand reserves. So, we don't really need to go into that. But, so I have called several times, you know, and spoken to clerks, whenever I've had questions on bills. I always call, they answer the questions. It may take a little while, but somebody always gets back to me and explain things to me, and, the first time I've ever had to come to a meeting. It's always been explained well. What they've told me has happened, and it's fine. Everything's fine. I, you know, have dealt with the increases that have come, understand most of them. The most recent one, I just am finding some issues with that. So, the most recent bill came, and I called, and spoke, Dale gave me a call Monday. And I spent quite a bit of time on the phone with him, and he, you know, I presented my questions, and he asked me to email him my questions, and then go from there. So I'm gonna read you my questions that I emailed to him, and if you can answer them.
I think we have a copy of them right here.
Okay, so if you can answer them as I go, that's fine. If you cannot, and I can just get a written response to my email, that would be great too.
Okay.
Because I understand that some of these, to me, they're very clear, but maybe they
Do the
require
best they
more
can.
research. Okay, so, and let me just, talk to you about our property. Well, I'm not gonna go there. One's an apartment building with 2 properties, one's with 3. So if we start talking about EDUs, that's why there's more than one, because there's more than one family in a house. So, on my invoice that I got, that I'm in question, I would like to know, how is the Redwood Water Reserve Fund amount calculated? That should be pretty easy.
We totaled out all the EDUs of everybody that's connected to the district. I made reference to this $128,000 that Dank recommends we collect every year. I'll back up a little bit, give you a little more information. Redwood Water District is, like I mentioned earlier, is hands down the biggest water district. So therefore, their suggested annual reserve costs are equally high. They have a $1.1 million water tower in that district. No other district has a water tower, things like that. Other districts like Carnegie Bay, very, very low. We took whatever Dank recommended in all those other districts and did 100%. In this one, because it's such a high number, we did 25%. So 25% of that $128,000 we're looking to generate annually. Right now, there is no, contrary to what somebody might think, there's no reserve fund. So we're trying to build up a reserve fund. Over the last couple of years, for sure, we've had some serious water main breaks on Route 26. You may have experienced that in the last couple of years. That water line going out there, it's gonna have ongoing problems. If we don't have a reserve fund to pay for things like that, we're either gonna go into the red, and that's what's gonna happen, or we'll have to hope for, cross our thumbs to get grants to pay for that. So, when I'm referring to the reserve fund is to pay for taking care of stuff like that, pay for, we know we have to do some work on that, water tower. That needs to get paid for by the district, not by the town, by the district, has to shoulder 100% of that cost.
That's one of the most expensive issues, because the health department inspected the water tower, and they told us that we have to paint the inside of the water tower, and that was an $80,000 estimate, I believe.
So, I don't know if I've answered your question or not.
Okay, so part of it, but when I say how is the amount calculated, so you said, I'm just jotting this down, but if you could just please respond to my email with detail, because I'm trying to write this down and listen in.
I'll try it, yep.
So you took the EDEs for the district.
Right.
And divided that by 25% of the $128,000.
And then distributed that cost back to the customers, how many EDUs each one of those customers have. So if you have one EDU, then it's 1 times that. If you have 3, then it's 3 times that.
Okay,
And that's just for the Redwood water or sewer.
All districts are treated exactly the same.
Are you
It's just for the
charging one
reserve fund.
EDU for apartment building owners on water, or
No.
are you charging 3/4 like the sewer?
No. That's another problem that Redwood Water District has prior to doing this change. That's different than any other water district. Every other water district is, EDUs for water. You know, if you have a single-family dwelling, it's a 1. If you have, like, say, Big M, there are 8. You know, it depends on, difference, okay? Redwood Water, everybody was a 1, no matter what you were.
and that's one of my other questions.
So,
That's one of the problems at the
that's
town.
inherently
because
unfair.
Everybody's using different amounts of water. You've got commercial businesses.
Well, now, you could have a single-family dwelling with a, whatever family, and then you can have an apartment building with 2 families. Well, this one's getting charged 1, and this one's also getting charged 1. Not fair.
I understand that, but
Okay.
I'm just gonna be an advocate here for rental people,
Okay.
that,
So anyway,
we have 1 building, 3 apartments, 3 people live in the building. We have another building where 5 live in it. So these 3 people, I see the bills, these 3 people use a whole lot less water than 1 place with 5. But I understand, and I'm not gonna argue that, and that was one of my questions, I guess, and that's why our bill is substantially more, because we went from paying 2 EDUs now to almost 5. So our bill, 1 place is going up $832 a year. How does somebody that passes that on to their tenants, who signs 1-year leases and did not know this amount, I did not know this amount until I got my bill. And if I'd have known what it was gonna go up 6 months ago, when you guys approved it, I would have been able to absorb some of this cost by maybe raising rent, $25, $30, something that wouldn't hurt. But now, we have to absorb that.
Yeah, where was the documentation sent out to anybody on this?
we sent this letter with your water bill.
I'll go there.
Recently?
You all got this letter, and it says exactly what I just said.
Okay, so that was just question 1, but, so on the same billing, just for clarification, how is the Redwood water operation and maintenance amount calculated? And how will those funds be used? I think I already know how they're gonna be used, because Dale told me that, based on maintenance, fee, personnel costs, things like that, everyday operational costs.
Annually, the town puts together a budget, covers all aspects of the town, including water and sewer districts. And there's O&M, anticipated costs in the town annual budget. We took, right out of the town budget, we took that number and applied it again towards number of EDUs.
And that's based
comes
on
out of the
prior
town
year's
budget.
expenses?
Comes
So
right
that's
out of
where
the
you
town
come up with
budget. Our
that?
anticipated expenses.
Well, I know what a budget is, but where did those figures come from? The actual expenses from the year before?
Yeah, and anticipated, people, everything goes up. You
Right,
know,
but-
And so when we have a, certain number of employees, and, then employee costs. And then you got, annual costs for, for example, like testing, all those kind of things, and it goes into the budget. There's a whole series of line numbers, and that totals out to be the O&M.
Okay.
But
And that would be,
I believe the town budget is on.
What you're getting at, I think,
and
is
that would
from
be easy
year to
enough
year,
to
you're,
provide, right? If I
Yeah.
wanted that
But if you
dollar
look, I
bill,
believe it's on the
it's
town website,
on our
right?
website,
Yeah, I have it right here.
yeah.
Yep, but that's where I
it's
come
not
from.
that clear, it's not detailed.
But if you look at the town's website, I believe the town's budget is there.
It is, yes, yes,
Yep.
it is, yep. Okay, so, and I'm just going through my questions, but this one we already
Okay.
talked about, but, in past bills, I've been charged $124.99 per billing cycle, which is the 1 flat EDU rate that we were talking about. Most recent statement being charged, $104 and $228, increase of $208 per quarter, $832 a year. This increase is excessive. Was the fee a flat fee in past years, and now the town has decided to go to EDU? Yes, you answered that. My question with that would be, why was this not done 20 years ago? Why now?
Super good question.
That's a real good
I would have to ask,
Take a
something
shot.
like this, don't take it the wrong way, but our engineers and attorneys at the time when they formed these districts, this is what they did.
Not exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
They did, but there were multiple meetings over at the fire hall. I don't remember if Jamie was there, but a lot of us apartment building owners fought very hard not to get charged more, and we were promised we'd stay at one EDU like everybody else, back then.
Okay.
That was the agreement.
Okay, but I'm just saying,
When the water went in, those meetings were from, what, 2005 to 6, before the ordinance went out?
anyway, but that's who did that way back when.
Okay, so I'm not being rude here by saying
No, go
this,
ahead. No.
but I do need to say this, that, the people that make the decisions are elected
Yes.
to make sound decisions for the district. So because those sound decisions, and I'm not gonna say mismanagement, lack of proper management, decisions for years, now we are being increased at an excessive rate. I don't feel that's fair. Do I understand why you're doing it? Of course I do. I don't feel it's fair. I mean, I'm not here to fight for myself, because you know what, I'll give up something and I'll pay the damn bill, okay? But I have a mom, I have grandparents, I have people that live on Social Security that got a very minimal increase. They just got socked to with propane, they just got socked to with National Grid, food, everything is going up. And now they don't know how they're even gonna pay this. And I feel like, somebody needs to talk for them, so that's why I'm here. I'm here to talk for myself, but I'm here to talk for them too. I mean, I have a means, I'll jack up the rent, somebody's gonna pay for it, right? If that's the way it happens, it just goes down, somebody else suffers. But I feel like if decisions were made poor for 1 year, okay, yeah, 1 year. 20 years of poor decisions, and now we make this change, and that's excessive. I mean, it's not $20 for the average person, it's not. And,
We've run into this problem in a lot of our water and our sewer districts. For instance, the Redwood Sewer, the rate wasn't raised for how many years? I
Long
want to
time.
say it was
Long time.
16, 18, 20 years, the rate wasn't raised. Where expenses went up, the town of Alexandria gave raises to all their employees almost every year. The health insurance has gone up, as you all know, for a lot for years and years. So all these not fixed costs, all these expenditures are going up. Rates didn't get raised. Okay, it says in our ordinances, in every one of our ordinances, I think, Mike, it says that the
At a
revenues and the
minimum.
expenses are supposed to be reviewed once a year
At a minimum.
and have a public hearing for those once a year. That was never done, and we started doing that 2 years ago.
But one of the awful reality of water, any special district, water, we're talking about water right now, is they're like a little government. They have to support themselves. They can't, the general fund or the town cannot offset that. So, expenses are expenses and revenues are revenues. If your expenses are this, your revenue's gotta be that.
Yeah, I mean,
So, if your revenues are down here somewhere, you instantly have a problem. And then it comes down to, and I appreciate where you're coming from, but it becomes a question of fairness. I used to use this example a lot, is, former board member John Stein's father lived in Redwood for many, many, many years. 90-year-old guy. How much water and he lived in a single-family dwelling. How much water could he possibly use? In an apartment, you could have multiple people, and he was paying more, actually, than somebody that owned an apartment building. How is that fair? I mean, that's what we kind of struggle with
how
that.
did that happen? I mean, apartment buildings, I pay 2.5 times what people
If
pay.
you have a house with 2 apartments, you're definitely gonna have more people than a 90-year-old guy living by himself.
Yeah, but you're paying more. I'm not paying one EDU.
But I'm just saying that apartment buildings, the way it's set up, was paying 1 EDU, and so was Mr. Stein.
For water.
For water.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about right here. We're just, I know exactly where you're coming from, and that's what we struggle with. This is a question of fairness as well. And how is
I
it
don't think
fair?
it's fair, I just think that, it's a very rural district, so there isn't the population to support all these costs.
Okay, then how else would you propose that we would do this?
I mean, I don't know, I
Take
mean,
somebody, that a single family home pay as much as, a
No, I'm not
multifamily
saying,
home?
I don't have a problem with it,
Yeah.
that, I understand why you changed that, but I'm just saying, all of a sudden, this cost increase, we're not talking $20, we're talking.
This should have happened a long time ago.
And the timing, for most people, couldn't be the most horrific time in their life in the past 30 years, and now we're just gonna slam them with this.
Should have happened a long time ago.
So one of the things that we found in
What's your
2018,
receivables?
okay,
I can't,
How well are your receivables of people paying for water and sewer in Redwood? Is it 50%, 100%, 80%?
we have,
Doesn't the county make us whole
the
every year?
county makes us whole.
it's 100%
There's-
because in
there's
October of
people
every
that-
year,
Yeah,
we
we-
submit to the county what
yeah,
wasn't
we
paid,
don't-
the county pays
We're
us
not short
in
that way, but there are a fair number of
in
people that
full,
don't pay on time.
including the late fees,
Okay.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Was it changed?
So, but what I was gonna say, in 2018, that was the first year that I was supervisor, and our bills went out, in April, as they just did to you. The bills went out in April for the water. We have 5 water districts, okay? So, I got a total for each district, I think that from Jesse, I got a total of what the water consumption and dollar amount was for each district. So I got these 5 totals. Well, when I got those 5 totals, and Ronnie will remember this because he was a board member, I put it on a Excel spreadsheet, and then I went to our bookkeeper and got the total of the 5 districts from our bookkeeper of what we got billed from the village of Alexandria Bay, because as Jamie will attest to, there's a master meter that goes to Redwood. There's a master meter that goes to Otter Street. There's a master meter that goes to Route 12. So we know how much water goes through that master meter, and so does the village, because that's how they bill us, according to how much goes through. So I got those amounts of water that went through and what we were paying the village for that water. I got the amounts from Jesse of how much we billed our water customers in each one of those districts. I put it on a spreadsheet, and I sent it to the board members, and I said, we have a serious problem. The serious problem is, we are paying the village more dollars and cents for the water that goes through that meter than we're billing our residents in those districts. So, you're paying this much for the water, you're charging this much for the water.
But we're paying that now, right? Cause the consumption
Yes.
is the consumption.
Yes.
So what goes through the meter is the
And-
consumption, and residents are all paying that. That's
Yeah.
nothing to do
But,
with
no,
EDs
but
and flat
that was
fees.
part of the bigger picture that needed to get resolved as well.
Right,
We
and
needed
that
to-
did.
We
That
needed to
did.
raise the raw
So
water rate.
it took about 2 years to get those numbers to come back to where they needed to be. And as the other thing you talk about us raising the rates, we've had how many price increases from the village of Alex Bay? 2 that I know.
At least 2.
At least 2, and now they're gonna raise our rate in June. And they're gonna do what we started doing, they're going through their finances, their revenues and expenses every year, once a year. And their costs that have gone up, and they're gonna they have to replace 2 water towers that are huge amounts of money. We're gonna have to pay for part of that. So it's, you know, it's not good.
Now, on the flip side, not to allude to Mr. Peterson too much, but as part of, going through that process, we actually learned a lot of things. And one of the biggest, you know, I know me personally spent a lot of time with some folks with the comptroller's office. And they pointed out to us a couple of different things, one of them being that you cannot charge for a vacant piece of property, or somebody that's not receiving a service. That's more of what they said.
Which we were charging for, right?
We were doing that, and we couldn't.
And they slapped our hand.
We had to do that. However, you can charge everybody in the district for the capital portion of the district, but you can only do that annually. So I don't know if you noticed on your taxes.
That'd be another question.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what, so.
That's the $200 you were talking about.
Where I'm going with that is, you get, in say the Redwood Water District, you have a certain number of people that are actually hooked up to the system, and actually customers drawing water, is this much. But the footprint of the district is bigger. You have pieces of property that go on out Route 26 that are not connected, but are in the district and could be connected. So they got a little skin in the game. So that $124.99 that you're referring to, a portion of that was O&M, another portion of it was capital.
Right.
Well, we pulled the capital portion out, distributed over a much bigger number of people. So that portion of your bill is actually, believe it or not, a little bit smaller. Other parts, I will admit, have gone up, but we've done it, you know, we've tried to balance things as best we could. I don't know if you understand what I'm
I do,
discussing.
but I'm just trying to think of how I'm gonna reword my question that based on that.
And for those people that are business owners, you know, or you have, you know, you can still write, you know, you have the ability to write off stuff, you may actually take advantage of that because now it's on your taxes, where it wasn't on your taxes before.
Don't think you can write that portion of your taxes off.
I'm not so sure about that. I looked at
I
it.
mean, you can write it off now, but I'm not so
Yep.
sure that,
Yep.
which I'm just gonna put this for the record, that, our tax preparer does many taxes in, this district is the
By the way,
highest water and sewer of any.
Believe me, you know, this is not something we did just, you know, snapped our fingers and we're just gonna do this, we don't really care, cause me personally and, Jamie over there and two other folks, we've spent probably a couple months a week for like 2 years just talking about stuff and trying to work out something that'd be as equitable and fair as it possibly could come up with. And still making sure that we look towards the future, because I don't know about you, but I paid my mortgage off. I don't wanna pay it off again. I don't wanna take a second mortgage off and keep having to borrow money. I wanna eventually pay this stupid thing off. There's Redwood Water should have a 38-year mortgage. At 38 years, I want that thing paid off. So, how we need to do that, we need to build a reserve fund so we don't have to keep borrowing money and keep kicking it down the road. So our children and
Tina and
grandchildren.
David, one of the things that we did talk about, and I think you've talked to Del Ramo on the phone a few times, is that we'd like to have, you pick a day and a time that you could come in here, and Sandy and Mike and Dale and Jamie, the people that were involved in this thing for 2 years of meetings, and they had a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of things on our screen that could maybe help you understand where we're at and what we're doing, more than we can
Yeah, I will,
explain tonight.
yeah.
I mean, Mike knows this whole
Very
situation
transparent.
inside
We're not
out,
hiding
but
anything, you know?
we'd like to have, if you wanna do that, we would be willing to definitely.
Well, I mean, and the biggest thing is, and I'll go through a couple of other questions, I think it'll probably come out in what I'm gonna say, but, you know, my biggest thing is when I got this letter from Sandy, you know, I don't like to use person's name, but when I got this letter, I mean, and I think everybody here probably got this letter, so, or knows what I'm referring to. So, this is how the letter reads, okay? I'm just gonna read the first couple paragraphs. On September 15th, town ordinance, public hearing it passed. I'm not gonna verbatim that. The ordinance amended and restated the water use ordinance. The biggest change is the capital portion of the water district will be billed on your town and county taxes. Remember that. The biggest change is how it's being billed. For the average household user, that means $322 will be billed to your taxes. If your taxes are escrowed, we must recommend you contact your bank. The operation and maintenance portion of your bill and a reserve will be billed quarterly. That amount will be approximately $84 a quarter. None of these figures include usage. Attachments are included if you have any questions. Okay, so when I got this, I had questions. I called 3 times. I talked to Nicole, who I believe does the billing. And when I read this top part right here, I didn't read the rest of it, to be honest with you. This is what I read, right? Not one word on this piece of paper told me I was getting an increase in charge. Increase isn't there, new charge isn't there. It says, the biggest change is the capital portion of the district will be billed on your taxes. I got my 2022 taxes, it ain't there. And it said, you know, and it says, the operation portion of your bill and reserve will be billed quarterly. Okay, so that right there just said, the operation and maintenance portion and the reserve will be billed quarterly, and that's it. Okay, I was already being billed operation and maintenance, right? So I called. Nothing here told me. This is what makes me not happy, okay? Nothing here said, hey taxpayers, your bill's gonna go up. Nothing here told me that. But I called just to get clarification. The way that they explained it to me was, nothing's going up, right? The $124 is just gonna be broken up differently. part's gonna go on your taxes, part's gonna go on your bill. Great, thank you. Got off the phone, phew, great, not another increase, because we just felt it with sewer not too long ago. Then, I get my bill. And I'm like, so I pull out the letter. Nothing in this letter matches my bill, except for the operation and portion fee and a reserve. But I did not read it that way, and nobody I've talked to read it that way. They figured, and when I called and spoke to your office, that's what I was told. There was nothing mentioned of an increase. No, we're just reapportioning how your bill is, that's how we're doing it. Oh yeah, that makes sense, great. Transparent as can be. Then I get the bill, okay? And, I mean, that's where I'm at with that, because there's nothing in this that prepared me for that bill, nothing. And I called, and, you know, nothing prepared me for that, and I sat there and tried to run the figures, trying to figure out this and that, you know, and that's when I talked to Dale about it, you know, and he, you know, obviously I know all this, there's meetings, there was posted. Okay, I went through the minutes, nothing said anything different than this, nothing said Redwood Peoples were gonna go up, nothing said that, and, it didn't say it anywhere.
I mean, how can you charge somebody for more, not explain it to them before you do it?
And I mean, I guess that's where I'm
This
at
letter
with
could be
that.
better, but basically what,
Yeah, but that's not.
it's this far down here.
Point is, the letter's terrible.
I mean, it could be better, but it's this far here, it talks
And, you know,
about.
so this is what
I mean, the
I asked,
biggest part of your increase is tied to your change in EDUs,
well, some of it, but not all of it.
the largest part.
And so, you know, I forgot what I said. But, so that, and then, you know, I asked in October, because my issue was, when I got this in October, was, can you put this, when you guys put the bill, this is what I said to, I don't know, it was Nicole. I said, so you know, I'm one of you that will actually come and talk, okay? So, many people read this stuff, they probably threw it in the trash, they got their bills, they don't say anything. So, you know, I said to her, you know, just to avoid questions, because believe me, I know how this stuff happens, and, you know, so people are asking questions, and I know you're trying to be transparent. How about when you send those bills out, I said, how about you put a letter in the new bills when they come out, when it's broke down, stating what it's for? And the comment I got was, well, we can't add another sheet of paper. And I'm like, okay, so you already send me 4, so how about a comment section on that bill? There's a lot of white space on the bill. Put something in there that says, you know, this is broken out this way, something like that, so that you don't get calls from people like me. Because the way I find out changes is just how I found out this one. I got it in my bill. What can I do about it now? You can't say, why didn't you come earlier? Why didn't you say this? I didn't know there was an issue. And so that was my recommendation in October. It said, yeah, we could probably do that. Well, I got my bill, nothing's there, nothing's like stated easier for people. I talked to several people, they didn't even remember this letter, let alone what the new charges were. So that's my issue with that, is I think if you're trying to be more transparent, you gotta put it out there. You gotta let people know. When you voted on it, you should have said, hey, if you got rental property, this is what's gonna happen. Here's a sample of your bill. Your bill's gonna go up $800. If I'd known that, I would've been here in October. I wouldn't be sitting here 6 months later, talking, but it's gonna do nothing.
Okay.
So, sorry, I got on a tangent now.
Okay,
but-
no. That's good, it's
All
better,
right.
better.
I'm gonna make these other questions fast, because I think we've already gone through them. What are the ED charges for water? Already seen that. Okay. So, this is a pretty touchy question, but I'm gonna ask it because it came up, in my conversation with Mr. Ramos, and this is what he said to me. He stated that somehow someone's gotta pay for prior year's mismanagement of funds. And there's a pending lawsuit, and that money's gotta come from somewhere. So, here's my question. How will that be funded? Is the reserve fund intended to fund lawsuits?
I don't know where he's coming when he said that.
We have,
I wanted to talk to you guys about that because he sent me the same email and my questions stated the same exact
I guess my
thing.
question
I
is,
saw
the
that,
reserve
and I-
fund that you're asking taxpayers to fund, are funds in that going to be used to fund a lawsuit?
we have reached out to the New York State Comptroller's Office to ask for, regulation of how we, or who can pay for this, or how we can recoup, or where we bill it through. And we still, as of now, don't have an answer. We do have something from the Association of Towns that I think everybody here has read, that initially said that it had to be paid
District.
for by the district that was sued, or that was in the lawsuit, which that obviously is a Redwood Sewer District.
Right,
So,
that doesn't answer my question, because I know reserves, and reserves are set up for specific reasons.
Right.
So this reserve that you're saying is for capital,
yeah, this is not for,
so that was my question. Is
I mean,
the funds that you're asking to set aside for
I
what?
want to make sure that I'm right. There's none of that reserve that's planning on paying any part of the lawsuit.
I wouldn't think so. Now, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know.
It's not part of your basis.
Wasn't part of your basis
Oh,
to
no,
make that
no,
reserve.
oh, no,
gonna
no,
say
we use this.
But the funds
gonna
won't
say
be
we use
taken
this.
out of that reserve to fund a
Oh,
lawsuit.
we used this stank document, there was nothing about
No,
any
no,
lawsuit.
what I'm saying is, say you get $100,000 from residents, that $100,000 is only gonna be used for capital expenditures,
That would be
not
my desire. Now, okay, let's turn this around a little bit. Like Brent's saying, that we are being told by the Association of Towns on this, and with this litigation that the towns has gone through and generated quite a bit of money in legal and accounting fees, that the district, it has to shoulder completely. Okay, so where you're going, I know exactly where you're going. Okay, so, let's just say if there was a reserve, it doesn't get used. How does the district therefore pay for it?
I'm not sure, but you're
Raise
asking,
rates. That's the only other way.
residents to put money towards a reserve, and reserves have to have
Well, how
a
would you,
specific plan of
if you
spending.
use reserves, if there was reserves, then that would address that. But if there are no reserves, and this bill still exists, it's like when say the village raises the water rates. You gotta raise, the rates get, if your expenses go up, you have to
Raise
generate
that side of
revenue.
it, but I'm saying a reserve should, unless it's a legal reserve, should not be, a capital
I
reserve
understand,
should
and I
not be
totally
used
agree with
for-
you. Totally agree with you.
Another thing you have to
Totally
take
agree with
into
you.
account here is, the way he explained the reserve earlier was the $128,000 and the 25%, and that's for the replacement of the items that are in that list.
Replacement.
Okay.
That's it.
That's what this reserve is set up for, and that's how they arrived at the number. But that is done by the Water and Sewer Committee that was approved by the town board. This town board can change every 2 years. 2 years from now, there's a town board here that wants to go in and use that reserve for something that he didn't just talk about and say it was gonna be done. As we've found in the past, that was done many a time, that people were told one thing. Gene just talked about meetings he went to for years, that they were told what was gonna happen. And I've heard a lot about those meetings, because there was people on Route 26 on the way into Redwood that had a lot of promises said to them about how it was gonna be done, and then it wasn't done that way, because it was a different town board, and they had different thoughts, and they did it a
I know
different
exactly
way.
what you're saying.
So unfortunately, you're dealing with management and decisions that can change every 2 years.
Right.
But
Well,
I-
and if
but I
it's
think
a
with-
capital reserve, though, what I'm
But
saying
you
is, if it's a capital reserve,
you can, cause we've done it, we've created a reserve that could only be,
Right,
Yeah.
in the highway department.
yes.
I think there's two things. One is what was the capital reserve intended for? And it was 25% of the Dank study. That's how the need was established. That is the intent. The other question is, how are the town's fees for the lawsuit going to be paid? Nobody knows the answer to that question yet. It's a great question, and we've been trying to get an answer. I can say one thing: the people on this town board will not be the ones making that decision. We're gonna be told how that's gonna be paid. It's not gonna be up to us. It's gonna be the state controller's office or a higher authority is gonna tell us how to do it. And we don't honestly know right now how that's gonna get charged out. But your bigger question, which is a question of fairness, the reserve fund is intended to fund 25% of what Dank says we should be doing, and should have been doing all along, so.
Well, and I'm sure that's documented, and if you're titling it a reserve for capital,
It's not capital for, when you say capital, I think in paying off
Debt
the
service.
loan, the debt service. So this is to replace things that go bad, like the water tower, things like that.
It's a repair reserve.
Asset management.
Right.
Assets.
Yeah.
okay. Okay, and then just one last question, cause I'm almost done, I'm sorry for everybody that's listening to all this, but, so Mr. Ramos also stated to me that, that the same type of reserve will be established, so get ready in the future for the sewer district. So I guess I'm asking you on the spot, what is the time frame for that? And,
I think Ronnie just answered that, and that time frame is when we get a decision from
No,
our.
that's not
I'm
what she's
talking
talking
about
about.
sewer.
No, she's talking
Quickly,
about,
sewer.
we elected to do look at the water districts first.
Yes.
We're gonna look at the sewer districts the same way. And I can't tell you exactly when we're gonna do that, but we are going to do that. Work our way through the same methodology.
And it will happen.
Yeah, it has to
Well,
happen.
I mean, the sewer district, we're already paying EDUs, at a non-flat rate, so
Well,
I'm not so
I-
concerned with that. But I'm talking about the reserve fund, so now there's gonna be another added charge for sewer,
Right. 'Cause
in
like-
addition
like-
to the already increases
Well,
for
like
water
Redwood
now.
Sewer doesn't have a water tower, but they have a sewer treatment plant, which is several $1 million. You
It
know,
was
and
built
that-
in 1992.
Built in 1992, you know, nothing lasts forever. You know,
And so there was never a sewer, so there's never any money left for, to take out of sewers always, you're saying in the negative too? So there's never any
The
money
sewer-
to
Redwood
be put
sewer
aside
is
for
in the
reserve
red.
for that?
it is less in the red than it has been a number of years ago, but it's still in the red right now.
Yeah.
And that's another issue that we could talk about for a great length if you
I
wanted
mean,
to.
are you talking like a year? I mean, I'm just trying to prepare myself.
It went into the red in,
I think she's looking for is,
She's wondering
like,
when
what
the
do you-
reserve fund
when are we
is
gonna
gonna start.
Right.
Yeah, what are
well,
you looking at for a time frame for
I,
that?
I wish, when we sit down and work this out,
6
we'll go
months.
through the same process, we'll send a much better letter, I'm hearing what you're saying, and it's a letter everybody know. The committee will make a recommendation to the town board will discuss it and either accept it, modify it,
Well, there'll be a public hearing also.
there'll be a public hearing.
Well, I mean, my request too would be, if you have figures, you need to present them, and they
Yep.
need to go out to people 4 months before.
I'd like it on the quarterly bill before the public hearing going out to each person in the
Yeah,
district.
exactly.
Well, the other
we'll
thing
try with
that
it.
she's brought up, which is a really good point, is that people deal with yearly leases.
Exactly.
And that yearly lease usually gets signed at either the anniversary date of the lease, according to the tenant, or January.
Mine got signed 3 days before I got my sewer bill with the increase.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, is that everybody needs to have notice before their yearly leases, because
Well,
as
it's not
as
that
she
you
said, she
I
was
mean,
6 months
yeah.
into
I mean, it's 7 months now.
4 months into a yearly lease, she can't change the price now. You know, and I think that's a very good point.
The one plus as far as Redwood Sewer goes is the EDU issue doesn't, like, right now, it's an issue with water because it's all one. In Redwood Sewer's not like that. The EDUs are already distributed, so that hurdle's already been by. Dank also did one for Redwood Sewer, and their recommendation for an annual, set aside is $98,000. And we would probably look at it the same way we looked at the waters, that's way too big a number,
25%.
so we would probably 25% of that, so,
How many EDUs might generate?
they're 200, well, according to Dank, 232
.15. I can't say that's a totally correct number, but that's probably in the ballpark.
Just for round numbers, so you've got about $25,000, if we do 25%, that's gonna be a little under $25,000. 230, so it's gonna be a little over $100 per EDU then,
Okay.
somewhere, just to give you a ballpark
For the year,
for the year.
so $25.
Yeah, so 25, yeah.
Right. Cause $100 will give you 23,000 something,
but
quarter
it
of
will
that's gonna be
create
24 or something.
a reserve fund that doesn't currently exist, or get us further, get us into a point where we're in the black as opposed to in the red.
And I
Okay,
think-
but no, thank you, that helped.
Yeah, and I think, if you could do that analysis on a little sample on a bill that says, if you're a single family, you take somebody's bill, take out their name off of it, put it on there, this is what your new cost's gonna be. If you have three, there's quite a few people that have rental.
Yeah.
If this is what, cause if it's there and you know it, it's one thing. If you get it in your face on a bill and
Sure.
it's not presented that way, and there was supposedly, there was notice out there, but the notice never said what was coming at you, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be absorbed a little bit better, and I think people have a voice
We would
before it
approach
gets formalized.
Redwood Sewer in the same way we did with all the water districts, is the capital portion, like right now you pay $162.50 an EDU. The capital portion would get extracted out of that. We would look at all the properties, vacant or otherwise, in the district, and that would get applied to annually on your taxes, so that will come out of that $162.50. And then a portion, $25 roughly, a quarter, would get reinserted back in to address the fact that it's no reserve fund.
The school, like when they have an increase, they'll have, like, if you had a $100,000 assessment, this is what your increase would be. They give you some examples, so that you can kind of relate it to, okay, I fall in here. So like you were saying, if there's some white space left on the letter, and Mike's already said that the letter can be done better,
Yep.
some kind of an
We can do
example there,
better.
so people will get more of a heads up, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right,
I hear
well,
you.
that was, yeah, sure. I am gonna though bring in my bill though, just so you guys can just go through it, because I still can't type thigures out. Like, I was looking for a figure like $40 is this, I still need to wrap my head around it to make sure I'm checking it right and, on that, so.
We're taking a 2-week break because, Dale's in Myrtle Beach and we all kind of got things to do, but we generally get together, was it, Jamie, Mondays or Wednesdays? What are we doing now, Mondays? Wednesdays at 8 o'clock, well, we can change that, but we usually do like Wednesdays at 8 o'clock right here. I don't know what your schedule is like, or
No, that's fine, I can come in for that. So. Okay, well, I think that was it, so thank you.
and we start at 8, and more often than not, we're still here at noontime.
I'm gonna mention something else too, is we do have a person or two that sits in on those meetings that partakes. And if you would like to get involved in or even if you can just do it occasionally, as far as come to those meetings, or the date or time could be changed to accommodate your schedule, here, sometimes, we could use some input from the public and from the taxpayers.
The only thing I would ask is come with an open mind, no agenda or anything like that. I could say Sandy Caputo, and I'm gonna use her name, of all the customers in Redwood Water, got affected more than anybody. And she sits with this group.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Got hands down, she got the biggest difference in a bill, her.
Yeah. I think you have a good point about the letter. That's what I see, that's the biggest thing I see out of this whole
When
thing.
9 sends your bill, you're gonna get an
And I think
increase.
that Ronnie's got a great point about how they do it with the school. They put a little chart there, and it shows that your assessment's $100,000.
Well, you see, the thing that really threw me off too is when it said a portion's gonna be on your tax bill, and I was like, I don't remember that, and I just pulled out my tax bills, because we just had our taxes done, and I'm like, there's nothing there. So am I gonna get a bill now for $322? That's my next question, like,
Mine
where
was
is
on
it?
my taxes, so I don't know,
I
but.
So
was
I'm
gonna
like,
say,
where-
how did
when
she
am-
not have anything on her tax?
Yeah.
Am I
Because
misunderstanding
it's not
something?
until, when did this start?
I had it on my
Well,
tax
On the
bill.
other tax bills?
Yeah.
What was it labeled?
Maybe
That's
I
a
missed
benefit
it.
It should
assessment?
be, it should
Redwood
show,
Water Capital, I believe.
yeah, it should show like a line like.
That's what I was looking for on my
like-
phone, so.
Like, I have a lighting
I didn't
district.
see that
where I am.
now.
How
It's
did
a
you know
line,
the
it's a
amount?
line item underneath, you know,
On your
like where our
taxes, you should
street
see it.
lighting is, it says
Yeah.
lighting district and that.
It
It's
should be right
underneath there and it's
I'll look
labeled
again,
for it.
but-
Yeah, it should be right there.
Maybe I looked at our.
I was gonna say, that's concerning if it wasn't on your tax bill, because it was supposed to be on everybody's tax bill.
I'll have to look at my receipt. Yeah, maybe I quickly looked at our Indian River taxes instead. I don't know.
See, we
We have
were,
too many tax
we were
bills.
required to have that information to the county by a certain day
Right.
and time, so that it
That
did
took
get
quite
on
a
the
bit,
tax
you can't
bill.
believe how much effort
Yeah,
dealing with government.
yeah.
Okay, I'll just double check on that, but I appreciate you letting me know my question.
You had something?
Yeah, I do. You probably answered everything, but,
Again, I can't hear very, you gotta talk a little bit loud. I can't, my hearing is really out.
yep. Yeah, you probably answered everything, but it's just talking about the water on Otter Street. And, on the new billing, we have the operation and maintenance charge now, and that's a totally new charge, right, along with the reserve?
No, what it is, we wanted to be like super transparent, and before, I think, Otter Street was what, I think,
It was one, well,
it used to be like 105 or something like that, and it was, everything's lumped in.
Well, the
So we
cap-
just split it all out so you
the
could actually see
capital
it.
before was 132.58. That was
Okay,
the
but no,
capital.
it wasn't capital, that was capital and O and M, it was all
That
together.
was O&M too.
Yep, so we split it out so you could
Okay.
see it.
See, and that's what we wanted to do, is we broke these things apart and we labeled them on the bills.
Yeah.
Where before, like he just said, O and M was in the line item with capital.
Right.
Now it's separate.
Yeah, and I know a couple meetings ago, I asked you about the wheeling charges.
Yep.
Otter Street has a wheeling charge
Yep.
system in it, right? Does that create any money for Otter Street?
You betcha.
Okay.
I just in the bill.
You have an advocate.
So-
when it comes
I'm
to
not
that.
kidding, on one of the bills, we got,
So that,
Orleans.
what can that be used for? For repairs or maintenance or no, or what? For
Yeah.
Otter Street District?
Yeah, it goes to Otter Street District, yeah, it goes
Right.
into the reserve, yeah.
Is there much money in there?
You're gonna love this one. What water district has the biggest reserve fund? Otter Street.
No.
Well, how
So
much
we
is
are in
it?
good shape.
How much is the wheeling charge a year?
47 cents per thousand.
Right, but how's that equate to dollars?
How's it break down? It's
The more water, the more money, obviously.
per thousand,
So
okay.
as Route
But-
12 water goes up, the
Right.
wheeling charge will go up.
Right, where Otter Street is you gotta kinda look at direction of water. Okay, everything's coming out of the village and it's working way to Orleans. It
Right,
goes through,
right.
first through Otter Street master meter, then through Route
Because
12.
that's been going almost, when it hooked into Route 12.
Right, but okay, so
All them years,
we're
right?
working, okay, all the way down to the Orleans master meter,
Right.
okay? So, how much water goes through that is how much water came through these two other districts, okay? Route 12 has a booster pump, that little building next, across from, Big M. There's the initial cost to buy that pump, the electricity to operate that pump, you know, then the O and M to, all those kind of things. So, 37 cents out of that 47 cents ends up going to, well, no, actually more than that. 37 cents straight goes to the Route 12 Water District to pay for that, because they provide all the pressure all the way out there, including into Orleans. 10 cents is the wheeling charge.
This stays with Otter.
Well, no, it doesn't. What we did is we took the total length of the pipe from coming out of the village out to Orleans. 75% of it is in the Route 12 Water District, 25% of it is in the Otter Street Water District. So 25%
cents.
of the 10 cents
Okay.
ends up with Otter Street.
So that wheeling charge money buildup can be used on Otter Street.
Yep.
Can be used for maintenance,
Yep.
repairs,
Yep.
breakage, or whatever, right?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay, that's all I got.
Anybody else have any questions in relation to the water bills or anything along those? Okay, we'll move on. Where was I? I guess I'm at the zoning report with you, Norris.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Guys, have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Okay, this is for March. We only gave out 2 permits in March, making a total year-to-date 3. We had 4 subdivisions for March, making a total of 7 to date. 1 variance was granted, and 1 to date. We have 3 variances right now that are on the table. We also have 1 site plan right at the moment that is tabled due to needing more information. There's been no special use permits this year. I sent out 3 violation letters in March, and 2 of them have done what they were supposed to do. 1 of them has picked up some of the stuff, which would be 8 violation letters. No court cases at all. I had no lot line adjustments for the month, so it was only 2 year-to-date. And I also had to do 4 foils this past March. And the amount of money that was taken in, just as soon as I get my finger to turn the paper over here. There we go. I took in, exactly $1,200 in the month of March. This coming month in April, I've got 6 subdivisions in there. And I've already got 2 for the June meetings. And we've got site plans galore. People asking for site plans. And I just sent out 2 registered letters, Monday on 2 places for cleanup. So, and if they don't abide by it, it'll end up in court, for both of them.
That it, Norris?
Yeah,
I just had a question for Norris. The subdivision activity that you're talking about, you think that, does it look like that's gonna result in new construction?
yeah.
Okay, that's great.
I was gonna say, we
I
talked,
mean, I'll say this, not all of them, not all of them.
Good. But some, I mean,
what do you say
yeah,
now? What?
Not all of them.
If you take what was done, say, a year ago,
yeah,
I mean, there was a lot of them that had houses put on afterwards. Or
Right.
they're in the process of doing it.
I was gonna say, Norris and I talked about 2 of them today, and they're definitely, are new buildings.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know if I should say this, but I'm not gonna say where it's gonna be, but actually most people should, if they think about it, they know. But we are gonna have a lot of to do with a solar array. There's a major solar array.
Yeah.
Didn't we have a moratorium at one point?
Yeah,
Yes, we
until we drafted
Created a
a,
law.
Then drafted
And we
and everything.
drafted a solar
Okay,
laws.
yep.
Thank you, Norris. Number 5, clean up town properties enforcement. I've had a bunch of calls about properties that look awful. I talked to Norris about 3 of them. I think he just cited 2 of them. I think we kinda have to have a little bit of an all-out board effort. When you see a property, be careful when you stop and take a picture of it, but stop and take a picture. there's a tremendous amount of properties in the town of Alexandria that look awful. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize this. So, we need to have Norris and Ron know what's going on. So that was the biggest thing that I wanna say, is that I think that I've sent the zoning ordinance and the junk ordinance to our attorney, and I asked him to review it and get back to us, so that when we cite these properties, we can cite them and something can be done. I've talked to the people in the court, and they're aware of our situation, because when the people don't respond to the certified letters, or don't pick them up, which we have that happen, or when they don't show up at the hearing that they're told to come to, or that process, we need to have our judges, which I wanna make sure they have the ability, because I think, North, one of the things we talked about, it can be a what, $25 a day fine?
$25
when things aren't done, and we need to start, as long as I've been around here, I don't remember that being charged to anybody, do you?
Nope. Not since I've been.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, drive down the center road and look at a couple of the places on the center road, it's just scary, you know? And I don't mean to pick on any one place, but there's a lot of places that are bad. So.
Tell them about the yellow place and buses, what we
Yeah,
think.
and I talked to the judges in the court about that, and they're gonna move forward on that. Yeah, and, you know, something that tends to stop us is when we send these people these certified letters and they don't take the certified letter, and the post office will hold it for 10 days or however long they hold it, then they give it back to us, right? That's all we need is that letter given back to us, that's proof that we did.
Sometimes they hold them 20 days.
That's proof that we did everything in our power to make them do that, so then they have the ability to drag them into court. And when they don't drag them into court, the next step is they issue whatever it's called, I'm not sure what.
Summons.
Yeah,
They issue a summons.
yep.
Cause I did do that here 2 years ago on an individual.
And that's what the county sheriffs can do for us. They'll follow up on that, so I just like everybody to kind of be aware and see what you can do to turn these places in and get addresses and get pictures so that we can give them to Norris and Ron so that they can start acting on it. That's what that was about. 6 Bolton Avenue Rec Center rental rates. Well, I've been talking with Sean, I've been talking with Mike. We've got pickleball people, we've got the youth program, which we allow the youth program to use the facility at no charge, correct?
Yep.
And I'm for keeping it that way. I think probably everybody else is, because that's our youth
It
program.
makes no sense for us to charge ourselves.
Charge ourselves, okay. But we've got this AstroTurf coming in, 45 days or something?
Yep, beginning of June, it should be here.
And we've been told that the school wants to lease our facility, the arena, 5 days a week. Every day, starting September or August?
Well, whenever school starts, but I'd assume September, it's actually meant for during the school day.
Yeah.
They'll have no gymnasium. So there's some pressure there to keep the ice off.
Yeah.
From the school until November, which you brought up a point, I think, it's when high school hockey starts.
Right.
And we're not getting a lot of the traffic from the minor hockey program anymore anyways, so it may be in our best interest to do that.
Yeah.
You know, start making ice November 1st for the varsity.
It definitely is. I can remember back in the village days in the rink. I mean, the ice never got put on at the rink until the high school could use it.
Yeah.
And because of the way the school codes are built, they can't start one athletic season until the other one's finished.
Right.
And that's about the first week in November.
November, yeah. Ice goes down the very end of October.
But they can't start the practice.
They can't start the practices until that sport is
They
over.
can't. That's the regulation, isn't it?
When soccer and football's over,
Yeah.
the other season would start.
And one of the things that regulates that, as crazy as it may sound, when the soccer team goes to the playoffs.
But that doesn't interfere with the hockey team, it just means those guys don't go to hockey practice, cause they're still involved with soccer. The seasons are very defined.
Oh, okay.
The sectional and state play,
Yeah.
the further they go, it just impacts the winter sport.
Well, then the soccer must be, the season must be defined to be, I'm gonna say around the
It's a
1st of
regular
November.
season, but the,
Like when the Frontier League playoffs are over with and the sectional play starts,
Yeah,
cause there was one year we won our first sectional game,
Yeah.
and it went into the hockey season. Yeah.
so, but what we're getting at is that, I don't think we should be thinking about putting ice down there till the 1st of November, give or take, a little bit. And we got solid rental, that's been told to us that they're gonna rent it 5 days a week.
Getting back on the rental thing, I don't think it would be, I know we're talking about charging yourself, I don't think it would be a bad thing to on the, increase a line item under the youth recreation, say $2,000, and then actually pay the rink. The rink, what happens is when you don't charge, the rink doesn't get credit for what it's actually doing.
okay.
You know?
Good point.
And the net effect's gonna be the same, you're gonna take it out of one pocket, put it in the other, so there's no extra cost to the taxpayer, same as if you didn't charge at all, but the rink should get the credit.
More than that is we still owe money on it.
Well, either,
So this
that's
will
not
help
gonna
pay
affect.
for it.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if the rink's gonna be used,
I agree with you.
it should just get credit for it.
Yep, no, I agree.
That's all.
Yep.
And then we fund it on the other end, so it's a wash,
Yeah,
yeah,
so there's no cost to the youth program.
right.
Yep.
Yep, that makes financial,
So now what are we talking about for an hourly rate? We have been charging $25 an hour, I believe, for some,
yeah, we just
For
kind of pick
summer
a number out of the air. Yep. But like
I talked with the guys today at the rink, I've talked with them a couple times about, we had some soccer activity in there, and we had a couple things, and I just wondered what kind of condition the rink was in afterwards, and it was very little usage of the bathrooms or anything else, there was no, they went in and checked everything, they didn't have anything extra to do, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be the same with every group, and especially when the school gets in there, there'll be some cleanup.
Right.
Or there'll be something.
I know in the school, because there was, when the gymnasium was used by outside groups, they, like, especially like on a Saturday or whatever, there was a custodian, you had to pay for the custodian, and then they had a charge for electricity. In other words, what's the cost to the school of that being used versus it sitting empty?
Mm-hmm.
And part of it was the custodian, and the other was electricity, let's say. So I guess, what have we got, in other words, if it sat empty versus them using it, we're not trying to make a lot of money on this thing, but it'd be nice to cover our expenses.
Yeah, and it's hard for us to answer that question right now, Ronnie. The little bit of use that we've had and that we've kind of been monitoring, what do we have, you know, I mean, one of the things that I dealt with today is, and I think you guys have got a schedule here, is we've got rental, or we've got use, I'm gonna say 5 days a week.
That was great, that schedule, what you said, that was great to see all that use.
You know, and, so we got an issue with opening the place up, and we got an issue with closing the place down, but the way we started talking about this today, that's a really small issue. You know, and the other thing, when we have coaches that Sean knows and that we know, we can give them a key to lock it up. We can, you know, unless everybody is opposed for some reason, I think we think about giving certain people keys.
Like an organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd just like to have a different rate for town-based organizations versus somebody coming from outside. Because that building is subsidized
that's what
by
Clayton does.
taxpayers. What's that?
That's what Clayton does.
Yeah, and we may not get any requests from outside, but we should have the rate there in case we do.
With this asphalt turf, we may.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be an opportunity there to use that.
And that we should,
And that's why we should have to hire.
I threw 75 an hour out
Yeah.
for an I mean, it makes sense, an outside organization to
Yeah.
pay that
So you're
rate.
saying 75 for which level?
For an outside
Outside group.
organization.
so it'll cover somebody being there plus the electricity.
And what for an inside?
Does one of our guys have to be there? I guess that's one of the
That was
questions.
one of my
Is
questions.
somebody gonna have to babysit that place or no?
I don't think so, I think
We had the pickleball people use it, Monday or Tuesday. And we opened it up, which they're there first thing in the morning anyways. and we opened it up, and they used it for 2 hours. Our guys weren't there, they went off and did their work that they had to do, and then they came back, when they were done.
I got a question. What about, when you guys are suggesting that, what about when we're here during the day and we can put our screens up, especially in the town clerk's office, we have our monitor right there, and we can have, you know, you can see what's going on inside of the arena.
Yep.
And then if you have a key here, and if someone needs to just run down and open it up or shut it off during a certain
Yeah.
time, we'll be here during the day.
Which is one of the things that we actually talked about today. We didn't talk about the video end of it, but we talked about between board members that have keys and so on and so forth, that the only questionable, or the only issue, is we have groups using it till 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, they go later.
So it's gotta be
Okay.
locked up at 8 o'clock at
Understood.
night. But I talked a little bit with Sean about that, and, you know, I think between us and the coaches, we see who the coach is that is gonna be there at 8 o'clock at night. I think we can handle that through them.
Yeah, well,
And actually, Jerry Duran has volunteered because he's coming back from his job, on Wellesley Island about that time. So we've had there's a few people that could take care of that.
Those doors such that when you don't have to lock it when you leave, in other words, you can get out because of the panic hardware, but like, in other words, if they left, it just locked itself?
I'm not sure if all the doors are that way.
The main door is, the main door is that way.
The main doors are.
And all the other doors are lockable, like going into, like, say where the compressor is?
Yep.
Because you don't want somebody going in there, all
Well,
the
if
other
they
stuff.
don't,
They're all lockable.
if they don't, we can make them so
Well, they should, that's what,
They're
yeah,
all lockable.
yeah. And the other thing is,
They're all keyed the same, aren't they, Jamie?
Yes.
yeah. I don't know, how many cameras do we have in there?
Say 4 or 5.
what was that?
Are we doing that many?
Well, a couple of them are outside.
Well, I'm just, inside, because cameras are cheap.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna have unsupervised use of it, having extra cameras in there would be cheap insurance, just,
Yeah.
in case something
Yep.
happened, you know?
Yep.
Wouldn't be a bad thing,
So we're at $75 for the
outside.
outside users. Are we gonna stay at 25, or are we gonna up that up a little bit?
If somebody's just gonna open it up and then close it, in other words, it seems like there should be like during the day charge, where somebody can go open it, like you said, do their work, come back 2 hours later, lock it or whatever.
And the other thing I'm thinking about is what Sean just said, and that, or you said, and that is for our own local youth programs and youth groups and stuff like that. Maybe we should just keep it at 25.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
cause all you got electricity and labor, those are the two main things.
Yeah.
Yeah, if somebody's just coming in and lock it.
Yep.
And then going to lock it.
And we'll keep working on this key thing and this open and close deal, and if there's a change or we see an issue or whatever, we can always readdress it, but for right now, I'd say we, make a resolution to charge the local groups and the local people $25 in the outer area, 75.
How about the school? 'Cause the school kinda fits in between those two.
We've got, I think we have until September to decide on the school.
Yeah.
And maybe we wanna find out what the school, how they, as you had mentioned earlier, what they charge.
Yeah, like
Over there.
custodial fee and stuff like
And
that.
the other thing we can do is we can reach out to Clayton.
Right.
Okay, you guys are talking about, having somebody leave to open up a door. Aren't there new systems now that you can, using the phone, just click it and open it when that instance is requested?
I've seen a
Not
lot
like
of.
your house, like a free phone.
There probably is.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
throwing that out there.
There definitely
It
is,
takes
cause
a
I
lot
can
of-
unlock some of my customers'
Well,
houses and turn their heat up and down.
That would-
I'm not sure
I
what her weight
understand to
is.
turn the heat
Yeah.
up, I didn't know you could do it on door locks.
You could just take a phone call
I can't.
to somebody that has
Disarm their
that.
alarm, I can
That cuts
turn
the
off, I can
neighbor way
do-
down. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Does, yeah,
It's gonna cost some money for that lock, but it's gonna pay for itself.
yeah, yeah.
What does somebody work, 25 an hour? I'm not sure. To run down there, it's gonna be like 30 minutes to go and come back.
Oh, I know, yeah. And you have the
Probably have to pay him an
interruption.
hour, actually.
What's that?
You have to pay him an hour, no matter what.
Well, you're assuming it's somebody that's already working.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is, they gotta stop what they're doing, get in their car, go lock it up, then go back, so you got that interruption and stuff. If it's a matter of, okay, we're done, punch it in, all of a sudden the thing locks itself, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
If it'll go, cause it's gotta be with that paint, it can't be like a deadbolt, you can't have like deadbolts on public assembly
So
things
you're gonna have
where.
to probably change the locks.
But the technology, I'm sure they can.
I'm sure there's,
And the
I'm sure there's.
mechanism.
I don't think you can have deadbolts on a public building.
No, but if you know that Panic Hardware,
Yeah,
if, I'm sure they can accommodate something where if anybody was in there, they could get out, but it could be locked remotely. It's gotta be out there. You'd think.
And realistically, by rights, we only gotta put it on one door,
Right,
right?
yeah.
We don't
Cause the
have to
other ones
buy it.
are all locked, but you're only coming in the one, and if somebody needs to get out, they've got Panic Hardware on them, so they're okay.
yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay, so we'll
Something to look into.
we'll do a motion for the 25 and the 75, and
And leave the school alone.
we'll leave the school alone
Right.
for now, and we'll look into that.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ron, second.
Yep.
Second by Sean, any discussion? And Jesse, that's for the 25 and 75 that we talked about.
Now, are we gonna specifically say that for the 75, it's outside users? Is
Yeah.
that how you wanna describe that?
Non-town based organization.
Non-town affiliated
Okay.
organizations, I guess.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll still be a problem, but it'll narrow some of it down.
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none.
What if I don't we have some people that are just here for the privilege of the floor? Maybe we should get that.
Yeah, wouldn't hurt.
You want my name? What do you mean?
No,
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 if anybody
no.
wants to talk, we skipped over privilege of the
I
floor.
don't know if you're just here for that, and are just waiting.
Do you have anything
That you wanna say?
specifically that you wanted to?
I own a property on Route 12, and I guess it could be a question for the zoning. If somebody wants to put a new building up next door to me, how do I know that that is actually in the works?
You'll
Do
get
I
a
get a
letter.
letter?
You would get a letter if they had to get a variance or something like that. In other words, let's say somebody wanted to put a storage shed in. If they keep it 6 feet from the property line and so many feet, 55 feet back from Route 12, you aren't gonna get notification on it because they're perfectly legal. But if they're putting it in 5.5 feet from the property line, then they have to get a variance, and then you will get a notice sent to you when they have the public hearing.
Okay, understood.
If they're putting in anything commercial, they automatically have to come in front of
That,
the planning board, and then all neighboring properties get a letter. Plus an advertisement,
Properties might get a letter?
do.
You'll receive a letter.
500 feet of the property,
Okay.
500 feet. Our laws read 300 feet, but we've always done 500 feet just because of the convenience for the neighbors.
And is this a different board than the board of building
Yes,
meeting?
we have a zoning board, plus we have a planning board.
Okay.
Where is your property on Road 12?
It was a
The
hotel.
Applewood Inn.
Where's that?
The Applewood Inn.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Mr. Robert Field.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you've got,
You mentioned earlier, something about the LED lights with Mr. Shavasty and stuff like that earlier during the meeting or whatever. I am his neighbor.
because those are commercial properties, I believe, on both sides of them.
Yes,
Yeah.
The property next door, I believe, just sold, and also Mr. Shavasty, I believe, is planning something.
that's right, he's planning on selling the boat storage buildings and keeping the showroom. And I know that I sent to Applewood, a thing on the meetings that's coming up on that.
That's what I was here for.
Okay.
I'm looking for that letter still. I'm not sure, I do have a business partner, my mother probably has it, maybe.
I'll tell you what, I'll go get you a copy right now.
I mean, they send, he sends the letters to how it's registered on the tax roll.
Right.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah,
That's true
we'll go
too.
with whatever is tax free.
Sorry to disturb you guys.
No,
I'm sorry you had to wait that long.
That's what I'm sitting here, I'm like,
Thanks for the idea on the lock.
yep.
Okay, where are we at?
Anybody else? Privilege of the floor, anybody else? No, okay.
Earlier.
You're on number seven, water report.
Water report from Jamie?
Water, yeah.
In the water, I've done my weekly, daily, and monthly duties. We just did a billing read. We had a not a major leak at the Route 12 pump station. It got into the fuse panel, burned up a VFD drive, which runs the pumps. Chlorinator. It's all been fixed. We're hoping to get some money back from the insurance company on it.
So the leak had sprayed?
A 1/4-inch line come apart and just happened to spray right towards the breaker box.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a once in a million thing.
Yeah.
It won't happen again, cause now I got it tie strapped down and everything else, so. That's about it in the water. I've been working with Jay, in the sewer plant, and then in DPW. We've moved the court documents from the village up to the town. We took the ice out of the rink. We've been up to the Bonnie Castle stables, cutting trees. We did some upgrades at the transfer site in the bathroom, hot water heater, new toilet, new sink fixtures, skid steers out in Watertown, getting some repairs done for Pesh, and we took the Zamboni up to the transfer site.
And you pretty much just said, what Jay was working on too, right?
Yeah,
Sewer.
put everything together, so,
Yeah.
pretty much.
So so there's a claim into the insurance company?
They just finished the repairs today. They're, I'm gonna call tomorrow and get the bill, and give the bill to Brad.
So I filed a claim
Okay.
the day after it happened.
Yeah.
The claims file, we have a claim number, and we have a $2,500 deductible. And I contacted her yesterday and said that by the end of the week, we hopefully would have some bills and some numbers, because that's what they're waiting for.
Okay.
And I think our dollar amount is gonna be over 5,000?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Easily.
it was quite a mess, and I wanna thank Jamie for getting there and taking care of it, because Jamie's phone rang with a warning, because there's a water sensor on the floor, and there's what else, something else.
And, well,
Yeah.
once it hit,
You know, Jamie's phone rang
power
at
went out,
2:00 something,
2 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, and he was there within 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
How do you keep it going? I mean, you gotta bypass that variable.
Well, it was a little hairy there for a while, 'cause you didn't really wanna walk inside the building.
No,
because
electricity.
Popped a major break, so there's a big, nut
Disconnect?
switch outside, so I got that shut down, and I reached in and shut the, generator down. Then I kinda just took my finger and hope for the best.
I don't like electricity.
I don't either. So.
We gotta get him some pet frogs for the truck, so he can throw them in and see.
okay, actually, I got something here from, Jay, sewer report, also a copy of what I sent to Pesh regarding testing of the live circuits in the control panel in people's homes, do the electrical before any of these tests. Sewer department would have to purchase a full electrical suit, gloves, helmet, etc. Also, they would require lockout, tagout devices for every home type, plus a disconnect switch. This simply is not within our realm of affordability. So, we got a letter from Ely Electric that says that they will take care of our electric panels, which is the one thing that the pest inspector said, that if we hired an electrician to deal with those panels when we had a problem, that we wouldn't have to put lockout, tagout. And the estimated cost of doing the lockout, tagout was thousands, wasn't it, for 200?
200 customers times 200.
Between $200 and $300 per place, or.
This is and I don't mean to say this is a new pest regulation, but this is a regulation that all of a sudden
It's a
the
good
pest
way
inspector
of
has
handling it.
decided that we need to adhere to.
I mean,
ideally, it'd be nice to do that, but not now.
And Mike had a good
right now.
idea, we're putting similar systems in on Route 12, and I don't know if Rob got this information, we talked to you. We can spend the $30 per up there to put the device on that meets the requirements for lockup. Yeah. So that's what we are for the sewer,
Is that something that's gonna need to be put out to bid? As far as,
Route 12 sewer?
no, in other words.
EOE contract?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying it isn't a good deal, but you know, if we've got 3 or 4 electrical contractors listening to this right now, they may wanna know if they could get involved.
You know, Ronnie, what we do for some municipalities, we do a little bid package every year for miscellaneous work.
Yeah.
And we got a bunch of categories, everything from electrician, carpenter, painter, roofer, and you advertise it, and you get hourly rates.
Yep.
And then, if you need something during the year, you meet your procurement requirements.
Okay.
I've got a template,
That'd be
is that something?
You just do that with the emergency contract, you just kinda have a bid for something that doesn't exist until it exists.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's an hourly rate, so
Yep.
And that's good for the whole year.
it's good for the whole year, and sometimes the municipalities will extend it, see if the contractors will extend it for a year, so they don't have to do it
Right.
every year. But it's pretty painless, everything from exterminating, you name it, I think.
But it is something, so am I getting it is something that we should put out
Sounds
for?
like we should.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yep.
It covers you with your procurement to make
Yeah.
sure you're
Yeah.
clean.
Okay,
I can send you a template, or I can do it for you.
okay. Number 9, arena report. The only thing I have is everybody's got the schedule that I made up with Dennis today.
This is excellent.
And that's kinda where we're at, that's, the discussion was about opening and closing. And, anybody else got anything for the arena? The pickleball people used it, early in the week. I asked them to get a hold of me after they used it to give me all the pros and cons, and they didn't have any cons. They were worried before they used it about the balls going all the way down to the far end of the court, because the first court that we put in is lengthwise at one end rather than sideways. And I had talked to them about that after they did it, because I kinda think it should be sideways because it'll stop the balls. But what we did is we have a foam barrier we put in there in the winter to divide the ice into. It's a foam deal that we put in sections.
Yeah, for the
So we
kids.
put that in for the pickleball people, and when they called me afterwards, they said they only had one ball go over that it worked good, stopped all the balls. So, we have white tape on the lines now, we got yellow and orange tape ordered. That'll show up a lot better, and we're gonna figure out how to put another court or 2 in there. And like I said, maybe we should put the next court the other way. And they thought it was great. I wonder how much pickleball use we're gonna get, and the reason I wonder is because if the weather's nice this summer, they're gonna be over there. And that's where they were today. And that's the day that they used it, they'd gotten blown off the court on Monday on Wells Island because of the wind.
Alright.
So,
When does the turf go in?
So right now, delivery's anticipated the first week of June.
So how do you do pickleball and turf?
Well, we'll have to roll the turf,
turf is a 16-foot
16
wide
foot
roll.
wide roll.
Oh, okay, so they put it all in, cause they gotta cut it, it sounded like they had to cut it,
Yep.
fit it around, and then once they do that, they can peel back.
Yep,
some
it's
of the-
Velcro,
Oh, okay,
Velcro
which has gotta be
and
done for winter time anyway.
that's right.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
If we have,
And
if
one
we
of
have
the,
another key for the arena, I would volunteer if somebody's gotta run down there.
okay,
and I'm available.
I talked to Dennis about that today, and he's gonna have 4 keys made up.
I mean,
I think it's one of those deals where a lot of people are volunteering to do that. I don't think it's gonna be a huge
I'm only
cost.
7 minutes
I don't
away.
either.
I mean, I think I'm on 2 nights
volunteering,
already. I'm just gonna be there
Well,
coaching
How else are
anyway.
you?
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
just
think
saying,
so.
The other night's George
somebody's
Martin.
volunteering, you know.
Not only that, but these are all
You're
local folks, I don't think
volunteering.
there's gonna be any vandalism or any misuse or whatever, so, I agree.
excuse me.
And Ronnie, you were asking about rolling the turf up. I'm just gonna say this, even though I don't 100% believe it, is that we looked at the advertisement for the turf on the internet, and in the advertisement, it says you can play pickleball on top of it.
That would be ideal.
Wow, it would.
I mean, then you gotta figure out how you put the line on it.
Right.
I'm not really sure of
Like
the
Wimbledon
surface.
on grass, you know?
Hmm? Yeah. So, but we'll deal with that when we get there.
Like Wimbledon, yeah. There you go. Grass.
Youth program, anything special there? We've talked to.
DPW report.
I think Jamie already did the DPW. Anything else on the youth program? We'll talk about some personnel and something else, in executive session.
Only other thing is we're just ramping up for all our baseball, softball, indoor soccer seasons right now, so it's
Busy,
actually
yeah.
a busy time of year for us, but
Yeah.
heading in the right direction.
Yeah, 12 is the highway report, which he's answered, all of my questions that I had. Says the next 12 through 16, 17 are all highway.
So we're gonna get rid of all of those right now with this one report?
Yeah.
That would be great.
Nice. Well,
Might make dockside after all.
It's 8 o'clock.
yeah, I made sure that Mike had a copy of this agenda, so he, answered them all. The men are busy tearing down trucks and getting equipment ready for the summer work. Jim, Greg, Bob will be tearing the bucket off the loader and replacing the pins and bushings. All work will be done in-house to save money. All town roads have been swept of winter sand except the village of Redwood. Report on Umstead's ditches was one of my questions, because as everybody remembers that Umsteads were here, we've been in contact with the county and are waiting on further permits. The project will be done by fall. I've had the Amish here for, what is that called, the only road where they have a problem over there?
Across from where Jerry Shaw lives.
Yeah, and Mike's looked at that a couple times. As the weather dries up, we'll assess the situation again and go in there and ditch where it's possible. We got a beaver damage going on Creek Road, where there's flooding going on. It's getting close to some houses and some foundations. And the way Mike described it today, it's within inches of being on the road, of which it would do lots of damage to the road. So he's got nuisance permits as of today, and he's got, they're gonna start taking the beaver out of there. Soon we're disposing of the beaver slowly, tearing parts of the dam apart in order to prevent flooding. So he's gonna work at taking the dam apart, but because it's a large quantity of water, he doesn't wanna.
A lot of time. Yeah.
So he's
Let it all go, you might hurt those houses that it's getting close to right now.
Yeah. Pond is going to flood the end of Creek Road. Okay, the pavilion on Butterfield Lake, I spoke on Steve Umstead. He's gonna give us a hand cutting the timbers and getting it ready to install, depending on the weather and any unforeseen issues. As for Mud Lake shoreline repair, I suggest we wait for the water levels to recede and the ground to dry some. I will contact Rob Campley shortly after for a walkthrough. So he's waiting for that water to go down, which it is pretty high right now, and it could be a couple months. That's, his report. So I'll go 17, 18, abandoned town roads. I spoke to our attorney, he sent me some information. We have a procedure that we have to go through to abandon town roads. Mike's already talked to me about a few different roads, so I'll ask him to provide us with a list of the roads and what the length is of the roads. There's some requirements that can only be so much travel over the road in the last year, and the requirements are per day. It has to be less than 4 cars a day using the road. So there's some requirements that I think, after talking with Mike, he feels, I believe 2 of our roads fall into that.
So who makes the request to have it abandoned? Are we making it, or the people that live on it?
We do, I'm pretty
I
sure.
believe it's our highway superintendent.
The highway superintendent requested of the county.
Yes, because he has to get approval from the county highway
Not so much
superintendent.
the county, but I mean, it's highway superintendent.
But it's a town road.
It's an abandonment,
Yeah,
and
and then
highway superintendent.
we have to hold a public hearing.
Alright.
So we have to hold a public hearing, we have to advertise it, we have to allow the public to come and talk to us about it.
So if somebody has property on a road that's about to be abandoned,
They assume responsibility.
Yeah,
It gets
I wonder
turned
about-
over.
I don't know the answer to the notification, which is
So
interesting.
it stays a town road, it just doesn't have to be maintained? Or does it get abandoned
be
and
careful.
property owners can buy
What do you
it? or-
explain to us, Jane? They go-
I know, I ran into this a few times. You have to be really careful on that one, because if you leave some of these and they're out there, somebody could just come along and build a house on it. Next thing you know, the town's now needs to bring it up to town standards. That's why towns like to abandon these things to the adjoining property owner, just be done with them.
Yeah, you pick
Because,
it.
there's a real potential
Yeah.
of that.
Okay.
You know, if you're, say for example, you're going to Redwood, and you can see where the old road used to go over, and somebody builds a house back there, that's a town road. We gotta bring it up to
So if
town
you're gonna
standards.
abandon it, might as well get rid of the land,
That's what ends up
and
happening.
then there's no
You're done
tie to
with
the
it.
town.
That's what you wanna do.
Okay,
Abandon it to the adjoining property, one of the adjoining property owners.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the smartest thing to do if you wanna avoid the potential
Yeah.
of taking on more than you want to.
So I'll ask Mike, to look into that, because, you know, there's a couple important points there that you're bringing up as far as the process and the liability the town has. You'd wanna pass that property on to the nearby landowner somehow.
I know he's been investigating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's his plan. I mean, I think he's even talked to those
people.
residents,
Yeah.
right, Gene, is that, did he?
I think so, I'm not 100%
I think he
sure. I
did.
wanna-
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, correction of water sewer data input from Route 12. At a meeting in the past, we had a discussion come up about Route 12, and it was water, yeah, it was Route 12 water. And the committee had recommended a change to some EDUs, and the statement was made that the EDUs that we originally were charging were wrong, or a mistake was made, by our town clerk. Well, we have since found out that that is not the case. When a water district starts, Rob Campany does the analysis of everybody that's on a water district. Rob Campany produces a spreadsheet that I've seen many of, and he's got every single piece of property that's in that water district on his spreadsheet. And he's got 4 or 5 or 6 columns as to how they get charged, and one of the columns is the EDUs that we charge for houses and for businesses and for everything else. So, you did that for Route 12 water, and we're talking about the Davis property. You did that for Route 12 water in the initial sheet that you gave to the billing administrator who was doing the billing, which was Jesse. The initial sheet that you gave had 1 EDU for Davis's property, okay? That 1 EDU was changed to, well, quarter or half.
Yeah. But it's semantics to a degree. I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong, cause me personally, I did exactly something very similar to that. I read the ordinance, just like the Route 12 Water District ordinance says, Davis's, in fact, they have a table, 1. I looked at, when I was doing the Redwood Sewer ordinance says you can charge, a quarter of an EDU for vacant property. Well, much to our chagrin, a couple of years ago, maybe 3 by now, Comptroller's office has told us you can't do that. If you don't receive a service, you can't be charged. So that's why we don't charge vacant properties over in Redwood, and why they can't be a 1.
So, I just wanna say to the public, for public record, that Jesse didn't make a mistake, Jesse didn't do it wrong, and that I apologize if I implied that, was the case. And it was, as Mike said, it was semantics, or it was this process. We've had so much that we've learned from the comptroller's office when they come and do all these things, that, and we look back at things that were done differently, that the town did differently before. And as everybody knows from the water and the sewer that we talked about tonight, things have been changed because of what the comptroller said. So, does that clear that up?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Plessis Playground, I think I sent everybody an email, I got a picture of it here. I'd like to go over there and maybe take a look at this and put the dimensions there, but I talked to a couple people that live in Plessis, and I asked them about a new playground over there and what their thoughts were, and that the town was possibly gonna spend $15,000 or $20,000. We spent $20,000 plus, I believe, on the Redwood playground. And the people said, that's not necessary at all for Plessis. Plessis has got a couple handfuls of kids that use the playground. I've been to the playground in Plessis quite a bit, because I get phone calls about the vandalism that's going on over there. I get phone calls about the backboards that were those plexiglass ones that are all smashed. And so I've been over there, we replaced those, Jamie and Jay replaced those backboards with fiberglass backboards, and they're doing fine. So, just giving you guys a heads up on something that we're looking at. Here's a $2,100 playground that might be all we need. Jay and Jamie both said to me, he's not here right now, but we replaced a couple slides on that existing older playground, and I think we put, those slides weren't cheap, I think we put $500, $600, $700 into replacing those slides. So this is just, we don't have to go on any further with this. We'll go over there and we'll take a look at it and decide what we want to do. Anybody have any input into that? Mike had mentioned something about, do we need a fence, and we're gonna check that out also, see where that stands. But the general consensus I got from Tim Helmer and another person over there who are very active in that community is that there's not a lot of kid activity, there's not a lot of kid use for that playground, because there's only how many families in Redwood, you know?
Plessis.
Yeah, Plessis. Yep.
Brent, do you need me for anything else? I don't see my name on anything else.
I don't see anything else on here about,
I can run back to the office.
I think we're good.
You're good. I sent you that RFP I did for Clayton for general hours of work. I just emailed that to everybody.
Okay.
And I also I filled out that form for the abatement reimbursement. I just emailed that.
So you sent the bid information, when is that going out to bid?
It'll go out as soon as Jesse will put it in the paper.
We can talk, once we got it today, right? Sent it
Yep.
today.
She'll get it in the paper probably by the first part of next week.
And the bids are due when?
17th, May 17th.
Is that gonna be a Watertown and PI, or?
Your paper of record, it's gotta
Right.
advertise, it doesn't really matter, put it as the cheapest.
Sure.
Because we give it to the builders exchange anyway.
Okay.
And that's what
Estimated construction cost,
450 or something.
grant amount?
I don't know, 560. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head.
I thought we got the estimated construction cost pretty close to the grant amount. Would you say 450?
Yeah, which had to pay us, you had to pay
Yeah,
survey,
yeah. Oh, that's right.
We had quarries, we had all that stuff
Yep.
that comes out of it.
So that bid is the 17th.
Yeah.
You know, something we need down there as fast as possible is that parking lot to be
Which one?
doubled, the big one. If that thing just gets packed, and it starts on Memorial Day and it goes all summer.
Well, you know, are you saying have the highway guys do it or get a contractor to do it?
I think we planned on through the bid process, the contractor doing it.
Yeah, I will tell you, bid prices are coming in high everywhere. I mean, it is what it is. Just opened Fish's Landing, boat ramp today, and the estimate was $350 and it came in at $550.
Oh,
Docks, crazy expensive, you know, floating dock, that floating docks go out. So we're gonna have to pull a bunch of stuff out. Which you probably will have to too. You know, we'll see how the numbers are.
so you're not gonna rebid, or if you pull stuff out, you gotta rebid?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
We had one bidder today. DC Builders got it, and we're gonna negotiate.
You only had one bidder?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everyone swamp too, that's.
Yeah, we aren't gonna do it until.
Can't believe the amount of work that's out there.
Oh, it's amazing.
And everybody's
Everybody's booked up.
Before you leave, do you have any, Amish horse species that you're...
I saw that.
Seriously, have you ever...
I saw that, that's when I determined I really didn't need to stay.
Yeah, we might need you to engineer the bags.
I could do that. If you really want.
Have you heard any other towns, I mean, have you been sitting in a meeting where that's come up?
Everybody bitches about it, but I don't think anybody's
You haven't
doing
heard any
anything about it.
solutions?
Let me tell you what, up in St. Lawrence County, it's not uncommon at all. We were coming, where was it? When we were coming home from Plattsburgh, my wife and I, we passed 3 buggies, all of which had running lights on them for turn signals and generated off the wheels like a bicycle.
Did they have bags?
And bags on their horses.
Did they
You
have,
don't
St.
see
Lawrence?
Anywheres up there.
Really?
So do
Gene, what was the comment you made about when you ride your motorcycle?
I can tell you what horse species tastes like.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Well, we have an
When you're the last guy in the pack,
Oh, yeah, he's
it's not good.
isn't it up to like Bishop?
Depends on that old class, right?
That was,
I don't know much about
within that community, yeah, everything runs through the bishop.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah,
can
so that's not St. Lawrence.
go to
that's,
them and say, hey,
yeah.
well,
No, 'cause
we're getting an
I
answer
go all the way
from the
to Essex.
Association of Towns, because towns have done this,
Yes.
made a bag law.
Tons of
English.
But you probably get less
Becoming
resistance
more and
if you
more-
met with the bishop,
Yeah.
or the bishops, I don't know how many
Yeah.
They're black.
first, you know.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying a law, they're gonna stump your nose at you probably. I don't know.
Well, the Association of Towns, one of the things that they brought up, or maybe this was locally through the doctor's office or the veterinarian's office, that, you know, those horses
Oh,
are
yeah,
not,
it's not sanitary.
yeah.
I'm the health
Carla
officer.
proved it with a
I'm the health officer. I'm the health officer, so if you want me to write a letter.
You are the hell.
You ever go to the TIM hospital?
No,
No.
I used to.
Okay, no, I was gonna say, if you're in there, to ask
Oh,
Carla.
yeah, Carla,
Ask
yeah.
Carla,
Yeah, that came up on one of your other.
yeah.
Well, I agree, it's unsanitary.
Yeah.
Has civilization come too far to actually moderate that? I mean,
Well, the bags,
if
that's the
if
thing.
somebody has to critique how much, I mean, let's set aside the horse aspect, and let's say a raccoon or anything went into somebody's yard and pooped on the yard, how do you, who can't take that? If you're so uptight that you cannot handle, an animal pooping on the ground, how far, I mean, sometimes you have to just push back and say, you know what, that's going a little too far, I don't know. Maybe we could have areas
We're
that
talking
are.
more on the roads.
Right.
Right.
And then the runoff
maybe
into the
if-
ditches,
if that
which goes into
complaint-
people's lawns, and the hookworm and roundworm and stuff, because they don't, you know,
Or
inoculate the horses, which is their choice, so you're not going to catch the stuff before it goes on the road. And
Obviously, it's solvable. You
Yeah.
make a put back.
Or even define areas that you can't have a horse area because of that reason. Maybe it's too close to a hospital.
the bag is the way to go.
They ride all, if you go out around the back roads around here, it's not that well, I do have an issue with it, because when you're the last guy in a group of 30 motorcycles riding, you're not gonna like not having bags
But see,
on horses, I promise you.
That's the thing, it isn't so much like disease and stuff like that, it's
It's also the danger.
a two-wheel vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
You hit that stuff,
Yep.
So we jumped to that, did our attorney say anything? Can you?
All right, we'll see you guys.
See you around.
Thank you.
Sorry, Rob.
No. I talked to him today, he told me he needs to.
Hey, we crossed that off, right?
Yeah, we talked about it.
That's all right.
yeah, we talked about it.
Oh, you have one more comment and I'll leave. The playground in Alex Bay, the ship, pirate ship, is missing a bolt. I don't know if that's.
Really? That's the village.
Village.
That's right. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
See you guys, everybody.
See you, Rob.
That guy's the best drywaller,
What's that?
that guy right there.
Oh, really?
It's the best drywaller ever to want, unbelievable.
It's Applewood.
He worked for Scotty Brown, unbelievable drywaller. That's the best crew around, but he's pretty good.
Okay, I'm on 21. Am I missing anything?
No.
Alex Bay Improvement Association, you should have a deal on that.
If it didn't remark it, it's marked 33, because that's what you had it for me.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody got one?
Yeah.
Oh, right here, okay.
Okay. So this is a new group that is an old group, because as it says here, they were organized back in 2000.
I remember the ABA-CIA.
Yeah, and Jackie Costello was the main, person in charge back then. I was involved, and Mayor Simpson was involved, and a lot of people were involved. This group is the group that was responsible for putting the planters and putting all the stone gardens and everything in Upper James Street. They do a lot of stuff with flowers, and they're very active. They've got a large following. At the meeting that I was at, I think there was 17 or 16 people there, and they talked about 4 or 5 that weren't there. So I think they've got a group of probably at least 20 people, and they're very ambitious, and they've got tremendous amount of ideas and plans to put plants all over places, and they'll put them in and they'll take care of them. I volunteered the town to help with some watering, because Jerry Duran last year created a device or a deal that he did, and maybe did it a couple years ago. If anybody saw Jerry at the main intersection watering all of Mr. Campany's flowers out there, Jerry's got a rig that sets up that goes in the back of our pickup truck with a pump and a big huge tank of water, and he drives next to all these things, and he's got a hose that squirts right out his window, and he waters everything.
Right out his window?
Well, he was driving.
When he's driving, he just goes slow.
Yeah, okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Efficiency.
And, so I volunteered that we could probably put that together again and do some watering where we can pull up with our truck, in early morning hours before there's traffic. Jerry had flashers and everything else on the truck. He did the whole deal, so he was protected and well seen. So you see the last page is their budget. I think this is a great group, and I really like to help them out substantially. So my request is to budget $5,000 to them.
Where is this money coming from?
It can come from a couple of different places. It can come from our community improvement line item, that we have a specific line item for community improvements that we have $20,000 in.
Is that specifically for the village, or is that Redwood plus
Yeah,
the
this is just the village, right? So why do we take some of the money that we're giving the village and put it in this?
Because it's improving the village.
No, I'm just saying.
Why do we, or?
No, I thought we have a line item for the village.
Yes.
Yeah.
As opposed to a town-wide one.
Yep. Take it from the
Because
village.
this isn't, right, just take out of the village one.
Yep. Those are my thoughts. Anybody else have any?
I'm fine with that, as long as the money's there.
Yeah.
Money's in the budget, and it's already there, and it's not encumbered, let's take it out of the village and.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
For you're saying $5,000?
$5,000 out of the village line item.
Motion by Gene,
I'll second it.
second by Sean. Any discussion? I did talk to Steve Jarvis today about this, and I think the village is gonna come up with some money. They have to obviously go through a meeting and take action themselves, but I think they're gonna chip in some money too. Whether the amount to get to the 8,000 that they've got here or whatever, but he said that they were definitely gonna do something. So, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none. Letter to prospective cemetery buyers. Okay, I've drafted a letter, and I don't think I have a copy of it right here, but I talked to Jesse about it. Jesse's proofread it for me, and we're gonna start getting that out in the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna say. And I talked to Rob Bustler, a survey guy, and we've got 25 plots reserved at Point Vivian and 8 plots reserved at Highland Park. And, he's gonna come, he told me he would come between the 15th of June and the end of June. And he's gonna come and he's gonna survey every one of those plots. He's gonna put those small little flags in. We're gonna get cement cornerstones, we're gonna put those where those flags are. And we're gonna ask each owner, or each prospective owner, to take a look at it and make sure they're okay with it. After we get the okay from them, then we will send a invoice for the, amount, the $750. So, and then we'll send that invoice, and after we get payment for that invoice, we will send them the deed that Bob Sly drew up, that we all reviewed a few months ago, or actually it was last year. And that will kind of be the end of the process. This has been over a year in the making. Okay? Just giving you an update of where we're at there. Applications for town historian, I think we need to go to executive session for that.
Okay, so.
Okay, report from water sewer, Mike already did that. Town departments audit reports, I don't have that from, he completed your audit, right, Jesse?
Yes, it is.
So he completed Jesse's audit, he did my audit, he did the bookkeeper's audit, he did the court clerk's audit, and he'll be sending us a report that hopefully by the next meeting I'll be able to give everybody a copy of those reports. Acknowledge receipt of March financials, they're right here. Number 26 that she has done. These have been approved by Mike Lasan. There's a summary statement. Basically talks about revenues of $60,000, expenses of $366,000, approximately increase of 88% in revenues, and streetscape monies were $27,000, fines and fees for justices were $13,998, ice time and concession revenues were $12,269. Of that, there's $7,444 still in accounts receivable. I did talk to the court clerks about the fines and forfeitures, and as everybody has probably figured out, there's going to be a fairly, I guess I'm going to say, significant drop in revenues for fines and forfeitures, and that's because that's because of this bail deal that's going on, and the laws and so many things today are now just being, they're just waiving them. They're not charging people like they used to, and not because they're not charging them, they're not fining them. So the girls were talking to me about that the other day, and it's significant, and they're not very happy about it because it's not right in their eyes, you know.
I thought bail was to make sure you show up, and a fine is completely different.
I think it is, but what they've changed with this bail, they've changed some of this other stuff too. Because one of the things they said is the DAs and the assistant DAs now are just dropping a tremendous amount of charges now, and lowering them substantially, the ones that they're not dropping. So a charge of something that might have been a $100 fine, now it's a $20 fine, because they're doing the reduced. Yep. Okay. Just to give you a heads up there. General fund, he goes through that, you guys can see everything that's going on. I'm gonna go to the bottom, at 2021 annual update document required to be submitted to the Office of Comptroller, was timely filed on March 1st and reviewed by them. They proposed a lot of times after we file that audit, we get things back from them, the state comptroller, some things that they have questions and issues with, and we had one minor edit, and they made the adjustment, and that did not impact the overall fund balance. Kind of where we stand on the financials. Anybody got any questions? I'll move on to budget transfers. Wow, that's a nice short list, I like that.
Perfect.
So we've got Route 12 water, we're gonna debit Route 12 water equipment by $5,858.13, and that's what the Jamie repair deal was, and paying for what happened up there. Committed fund balance will come out, credit of that of $5,858.13. And that's that chlorine analyzer, that's how expensive that was.
That's different than what the leak, it's different, the leak, wasn't that in the Redwood pump station?
No, that was Route 12.
Route 12.
That was Route 12?
Yeah.
Okay.
The
I thought
line,
it
line
was-
came apart, and as he was saying, it squirted water on every electronic component in there.
That's a variable speed pump, right?
There's 3 pumps in there, that's why when, who was talking
Yeah.
tonight,
I thought he said the variable speed controller or something.
might be.
Well, yeah, but what Brent's talking about is the leak sprayed water on an electrical device that shorted out. That's what this is.
Oh, okay.
But I can add a little bit to this, just found out today. So what's the word here, the chlorine analyzer got fried, okay, because of the water squirting on the panel. Today, the chlorine analyzer came back to life. It dried out. We already have the new chlorine analyzer. So we now have a spare $5,858 chlorine analyzer.
Can't take it back?
What's the
Other
restocking
one's hooked
charge?
up.
Huh? It's all hooked up? If it's all hooked up, how do we know the other one works?
I don't know. They came in today and told me the other one works, came back to life. I'm not sure what the deal is there.
Interesting.
Dried out, right? That doesn't mean it'll work for long either.
I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is the technology changes over time. I'm not saying if it works, it'd be great if it was still hooked up, but obviously this new one has got stuff that the old one doesn't have.
Yeah, yeah.
You put it on Auctions International or something, or, I don't know.
Maybe some other town we could sell it to that might need something like this?
Right.
Just tell them there's no warranty, right?
Well,
Tail light
as
warranty.
is.
Tail light warranty.
Yeah.
Village Court Records is just telling everybody that, they all got transferred thanks to Jamie and Jay and their 2 trucks full of records, and thanks to the town and their 2 trucks and their workers. So I'd like to thank the town, I'd like to thank the village for helping us with that. And we have those records here, and they're under lock and key.
They're in that
Yes.
cage?
No, they're in the other room.
Other room,
They're
oh
in
my.
that back room, they're under lock and key, we put a brand new lock on that door, and the only people that are permitted and allowed to have that key are the court clerks, and they
Right.
have the only 2 keys of the locks that we bought.
I needed to go in there today, and
Yeah.
so I can vouch for they have the key.
Yes, yeah. Streetscape project, 29, anybody got that in front of them?
Yep.
And that's just, this is a report that you've got 29 over a week, that if anybody's been around town, there's that major stuff going on at the Thompson Playground, they got major stuff going on the sidewalk down to the beach, and they started today, I saw them, they're taking the sidewalks out in front of the village office.
Didn't start, they're finished with that.
Yeah, I talked to Buddy today, he's gonna pour concrete in all those places next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, weather permitting.
Nice.
Yeah.
So they did all their rock work up by the beach?
Yes, they did all the rock work, he wanted to get that out of
I'm
there.
just saying, they must not have been as much as they're, that sounds,
Yeah.
went pretty quick.
Yep, yep.
Wow, good for them.
County reply, I don't know if I think there's a copy of that in here, is there? Yeah, there is, number 30. And that's just to tell you guys that I'm working on this thing, I sent this to Gene the other day because the person that's been talking to us about that is, talked to Gene and I and Mike.
And me, yeah.
And I don't have
And me.
I don't have, and you too?
Oh, you got me at Capiris.
Yeah. So I just, with this gentleman, I didn't wanna, this was April 8th. And, so I'll send him this again, I guess, is what I do. And I was looking up the name on the internet today for him, Is there an R in that
There's
name?
no R, I was just gonna tell you.
So I wonder if he didn't like the way I spelled his name and he now won't answer me.
That's okay, Buddy put a P in my name, I'm not gonna say anything. That's okay. No, there's no R.
There's no R.
I saw that today on the internet.
Yeah, cause you can see on his email address, it's spelled correctly. I don't know if there's two N's in the end though.
Yeah, there, at least that's what it was on the internet today. So I'll correct my spelling and resend this to him.
Yeah, Bob will appreciate it.
Well, that's work in progress, Gene, so for any of you that are talking to the person that's.
Sure, I'll get a call tomorrow.
I don't have the reply for the Amish horse species. Copy of that liquor license that we're just required by law, Jesse, to do that, and are we required to do a motion or anything?
Basically, it's to show the board that they're coming in and they have 30 days to get their liquor license. The board can, allow to do a letter to New York State Department of Liquor Authority stating that they could waive the 30 days. That's up to the board on whether or not they would like to do that. If you would like to do that, then, you can do a motion and we can send a letter. If you choose not to, then they have to wait their 30 days to get their liquor. They are a new establishment.
As a past liquor license applier and everything else, and knowing what goes on in the spring and knowing how booked up or behind the liquor authority is, I don't have a problem with us waiving that 30 days.
Yeah. For renewals, they've done away with that, except for New York
This
City.
is a new license.
I know, I'm just saying, for renewals, you used to have to.
Right,
submit
renewals
that.
are different than the new establishments that are coming in.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is an existing location, right?
Yes.
It's an existing location.
New owner.
It's new owner.
Right.
Yeah.
Seems, I mean, if somebody.
Same license, same, in other words, the same.
I'm just saying, so it's not like the neighbors, you got a grocery store that becomes, you know.
Yep.
Wouldn't seem,
So.
we need to vote on that?
Yeah, we need to make a motion to waive the 30-day.
Make a motion, we waive the
Requirement.
30-day requirement.
Motion by
I'll
Ron.
second it.
Second by Gene. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none.
I'll get that ready for you tomorrow and we can get
Okay.
that sent out.
That's all I have.
So we got executive session for,
Wait. Good.
Do we want
Brent brought this up, this is Redwood Fire Department came over and did actually a really nice thing for us.
And they also did the same thing for the highway department too.
Yeah.
So it would be nice of us to return some kind of something. And what I thought about, remember, I think it was a couple years ago, we, paid for some paint for the village fire department, remember that, Ronnie?
They came to us. Yep.
Yep. I don't know,
Not that we're gonna tell them they need to paint their fire department,
no,
but
I'm just
maybe
using that as an example.
maybe I should talk to George and see what we can do for
We
him.
should reciprocate some nice gesture.
Yep. I agree. So I'll talk to George and just say, tell him what we did in the village's deal and.
I mean, nothing spectacular, but still
Yeah.
something
at least say
noteworthy.
thank you.
Yeah.
Officially say thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this was a deal that we got the PESH, letter that showed we had to have fire, extinguisher training. Mike had already done the same thing a month earlier, a month and a half earlier, so he came back and did ours on Tuesday afternoon here for our 5 guys. And that's completed, and I think that's the last item on the list for the PESH deal. And that had to be done by this Friday. So, I'll talk to George and see what we can do. I need a motion to go into executive for,
Prior to going into executive session, I just want, you mentioned something about the bids, getting together
yep,
to go over the bids.
yep,
And if we're gonna do that, we could adjourn our meeting to a certain time.
You're right.
To do that.
good idea.
So instead of like ending the meeting.
'Cause it's still a
after-
meeting.
Excuse me?
It's still a meeting. then.
Continue, yeah. Then we wouldn't have to advertise and everything else.
Yeah.
So it's a thought,
It-
so. But that won't come up until after this is just for anybody that's listening right now.
But so we can talk about, just for a second, is I'm gonna say Thursday or Friday.
Okay, tomorrow's Thursday, right?
We have the kids trap league tomorrow evening.
Yeah,
I'm coaching tomorrow evening.
tomorrow's not good then.
Friday's not good for
Yeah,
me
Friday's
either
not good.
because,
Definitely not good.
no.
Friday's not good?
Friday's not good.
Monday, Tuesday next week, any of that, but this is the weekend for, not good for me.
Monday, Tuesday's okay with me.
Monday's good on me. Can't do Tuesday.
Monday would be okay.
I do later in the day on Monday.
Yeah. You said later in the day on Monday?
Well, I'm just, so it doesn't break up.
How's everybody okay with it?
Yeah.
You wanna do it earlier,
Monday's
at
fine.
4 o'clock Monday?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It's fine for me.
So we have to do that when we can do it right now, can't we, Ron? No, we can't.
Well, we
'cause
can,
gotta adjourn to.
we can just tell people that's what's gonna happen,
Yep.
and then when we
So
adjourn.
we're gonna meet at 4 o'clock on Monday to analyze these lawsuits, and our lawsuits, these bids, and what I'm gonna try to do is, I'm gonna try to go through these 3 bids and put some stuff on paper for everybody.
Okay.
I'll try to do that by Monday. Cause there's a lot of different I mean, there's the financing option in them, there's the interest rate in them, and the whole deal, so we can.
Right.
It was, what were those numbers? Was it, we got one for 98?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next one's 115?
One of the things you're gonna wanna do is Mike Tibbles is familiar with the one from Joe Natale.
Yep.
The Cabalco.
You really should probably see this deal. That's a pretty low number.
Was that the
Gotta make sure it's apples to apples.
No,
That's a Doosan.
Doosan.
It's a nice I mean, from what my understanding, pretty nice machines.
Mhm.
But I don't know if it's got the whole, what they're looking for.
I've run one before, but I agree, I'd like Mike to see him and make sure it has
I mean,
everything
it's bid
that
out to
the Cabalco did and everything they wanted, and then we
That's what we
can.
need to verify.
Yeah.
Trust and verify.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the one other thing I'll say is I've had people call me telling me that we should hire a sports field, architect, a sports person type of architect to help us with the Bonnycastle stables. So I mentioned this to Rick Tagg, and Rick Tagg has an office in Binghamton. That's all they do. And right here are pictures of all the different fields and all the different things that these people have designed. They're pretty elaborate. They're Wells College, SUNY Purchase, Corning Community College, College of Brockport,
TI.
Paul Smith's, SUNY Oneonta, the field up there that I watched them do next to Ogdensburg Ice Skating Rink, the Dome. They did an unbelievable job up there a couple years ago. That was all him. There's a picture of that Ogdensburg deal next to the Dome.
Lafarge Hill Central they've worked at, I see there.
Yep. So
Now,
these,
they designed and somebody else built it, or what?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they do the design right.
Yeah. So they've got a lot of experience doing all that, which is nice to know.
Yeah.
So, and he said, if you want us to have them get involved when you guys are ready to do that, I said,
Are those all copies of the exact same thing?
Yes.
Oh, so we can all have one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think he's given us something like this in the past.
This looks new to me.
It's a nice presentation.
That is.
Mhm.
Yep.
I'd like to own a
I
copy
know,
that made it.
Yep.
You know?
And punch the holes in it.
So I'll take a motion to go into executive session if we got everything else done.
Just for the public, when we come out, because we probably won't have the system on, we'll be adjourning to 4 o'clock on Monday.
Yep. So we can analyze the bids.
Okay.
We'll make a motion, we go into
I'll
executive
second it.
session.
Are we gonna vote on it?
Regarding personnel.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none.
You gonna go get the
I'll
microphone?
get those for you tomorrow.
I'll get the sound.
I'll shut these doors.
I'll get the computer.
Thanks, Jesse.
You're welcome, see you tomorrow.
Got 22 gigabytes left.
Yeah, I was asking on that